skin and your spear and follow the animals.
We can't, force other people to go on that journey. We can inspire them. But yeah, relationships, I think relationships are, Larry loved that. He would always say, get yourself a relationship, because all they're going to do is hold a mirror right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever
you go, there you are.
When they hold the mirror back at you. So most of our growth happens in those intimate relationships. Whether they last for 5 minutes, 5 years, 50 years, it's all good. There's Course in Miracles, just real quick, says there's 3 kinds of relationships. The first one is just like, it seems like a coincidence, like you get in an elevator, something like that. That seems like a coincidence. The second one is like there's maximal learning benefit based on proximity. So like
convenience.
Well, because the universe is intentional and self-organizing, it wants you to evolve. So often relationships are brought together for your maximum learning opportunity, but the proximity for that relationship is 5 years or 3 months until you've learned as much as you can, and now that proximity isn't required anymore, but you are still in relationship with that person because they're in your mind. And all minds are joined. The third relationship is the one that's a lifetime assignment. Those are usually families, spouses, partners. Lifetime assignments, like.
I've had all 3.
Huh?
I've had all 3.
All of us do. Oh, all of us do. No one's exempt from any of it. And we're all in these relationships. They keep happening, and then they change, and then. But I can think of relationships I had when I was a teenager that are still in my mind. So we are still in relationship. Relationships really never end.
The idea is to grow better after each relationship. The idea is to build yourself up after each relationship. Is for both parties to lead better and higher than they came.
Yeah.
And that's the ideal. If you spend 1 year, 3 years, 1 day, 3 weeks, I've had amazing. Have you ever seen the movie The Love Affairs? I'm a romantic. I love romance, and I love happy endings. And I love movies that you just build. I love the idea you meet someone on a train, and next thing you know, this is my stuff. I'm like, enough. And next thing you know, you spend 3 days traveling and living and loving. And at the end of it, you may not even know the last name, but you know what? Those 3 days you'll never forget. It's
beautiful.
Just the energy.
Nice.
You cannot replace that energy. And when the energy comes knocking, never turn away from it, because that just teaches you that you are capable of that kind of love.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're capable of that kind of love means someday you'll find a relationship in your own time zone. Someday. And know that when you do find a relationship in your own time zone, that's proximity, then you know you can feel that way. The down part to all that is your expectations to what you want.
Mine or yours?
No,
okay.
My expectations to what I want. Don't be twist things around. That's the same in general.
No, I'm not twisting. I'm
Okay, expectations build a little higher. You know what passion is. You know what good energy is. You know what that feeling is. You know what's capable of. You know what's within you.
I know it. The whole purpose of that tool is so that you own your experience.
My wife knew when I was 25, I will never be content. Making money, working, and being this. She knew when I was 25. And when we were done, when I was 35, she said, about 35, 34, she said, I am doing you a favor. It's not in you just to be this. I am doing you a favor. She said, just
beautiful.
Go get what you gotta go find.
Beautiful.
And she's an amazing woman. Like, she was really, to replace her is very hard.
Right.
So like she knew. People sometimes have that inner voice. You gotta listen to it.
Sometimes, always.
Well,
you just don't always hear it.
You listen to your inner voice. Sometimes you just bury it.
Totally.
Yes.
We don't always hear, but everybody has one. And that's what yoga's so good at removing the barriers to that. That's what yoga is so powerful, isn't it? This morning I realized, like, wow, the power of that breath. It was like I got off my mat and I felt like I was drunk or something. I was just like, what is going on in here?
It was Monday, probably.
You stoner. But there is this, it's so powerful. This movement and breath together, there is something that happens that is really magnificent, and it's a mystery, and we've only tipped the iceberg in it, and it's just amazing. I'm so grateful.
I tried to explain it to my father-in-law because he's like zero into spiritual paths or something like that, and we were talking before I came here, and he was like, "What is this? What is yoga? And, or why do you like it so much?" And I try like to explain it in his own words, you know. And I was like, "Well, Toto, for me, yoga gives me like clarity of mind, you know, because you through the breath you can, I think like you can oxygenate, you know, oxigenar el cuerpo. Yeah, with oxygen. You can have like really good amount of oxygen in the body, and then you have clarity of mind, and you can be more aware of everything. And when I read something, I understand it better, you know, like it helps you assimilate better the way of life. I don't know. And he was like, that sounds like scientific, and yeah, it's a science.
Wow, that's amazing. It is a science.
It is a science.
And I think one of the challenges we have is to make it accessible to people who we think want nothing to do with it.
Yes.
How do we communicate to our family members? How do we demonstrate what this practice is about? And I love that you met him where he was and used language that worked for him. Isn't that something? And we can all learn from that. Like, how do we? My father had the same thing. When I came home from teacher training, the first one, and I showed him some videos of the rocket, and he was like, he was looking, and he goes, "So what? So what happens? You can do that with your body, so then what?" And I was so young and so like, blah, like you don't even, it's like so amazing, you feel so amazing, you could like conquer the world, and like, you know, it's just, like I couldn't explain it. And so I guess I've spent the last 15 years trying to explain it better. But still, before we left for this trip, he was like, I just don't get this. I just don't know how you're going to take your family and go do this right now. You don't make any money, you know. Where is this taking you? I said, but I'm so intelligent. He goes, no, you're not. You don't make enough money. So for him, it's all about making money. That's when you know someone's intelligent. Yeah. Like they have like, you know, they're successful because they figured out how to operate in the world. That's the place I don't have, I falter every day of my life in the real world. He's right. I mean, in many ways, those are, if I have any real problems, those are the ones that I'm always trying to figure out. How do I function? How do I continue this lifestyle? And so far I've been really blessed. It's like, I just have to keep working on my fear and getting creative. And yeah, it's a different way of life than, you know, what your wife said to you. Like, you're not going to just sit here and work for 30 years and live in the same house. You're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that either. Like, I just am not wired for that. We're all wired for different, what does a course call it? Individualized curriculums. We all have an individualized curriculum, and it's very specific for you. It's very different. That's why we know the universe is so intelligent, because no curriculum is the same. Have you ever, in all your years of teaching, seen two bodies the same? No. I have yet to I'm like still fascinated by the level of creativity in this universe. It's just, you know what I mean? It's amazing. So I say to my father, I'm so intelligent. He goes, no, you're not. You don't make any money. And I have two choices. Do I cry? Or do I lift my bandhas and take a deep breath and go, well, you're totally free to have your own perception of how I am.
It's still,
even though it hurts me.
Tell your father though, it's still a business franchise. It's not like you're living on some desert, cutting hair for a living, teaching yoga class for pennies on the beach. You have a structured business that you can sell to them. At least that way you can sell that perspective.
Yeah, but that would be defending myself, because at this point, after 15 years in this thing, if he doesn't see it, it's not for me.
Well, it doesn't have a roof, a house, walls.
Right. He can see it. His higher intelligence absolutely is like, how are they hanging out at a villa in Puerto Escondido? Like, he can't, like, how did they do that?
How does it work?
Because in his model, you work every day.
Yeah.
And you work your ass off. And that he came with $500 to this country, and he has put all of us through college. He gave us a beautiful life. I mean, I have chills. The man is amazing. And still to this day is working his ass off because that's the way he is. And so now my brother's doing that. And then, you know, that's what they do. That's just what they do.
Deep down, he doesn't want you to do that anyway.
He doesn't,
They say
exactly.
That, he may joke about it, but deep down, if he knew you were doing that, he'd be like, I didn't work this hard for you to do it. Reevaluate your life.
Right.
You know, sit home, have babies, go get your hair done. I don't know. He'd be just the opposite too. He can't win.
Well, I think it really is teaching me a lot about, I mean, how to accept and allow. It's like, I used to feel really guilty about my life, like, oh, here I am, like, you know, my parents are working, I'm 25, you know, they're working so hard, and I'm laying on a beach in Puerto Rico, you know, getting ready for my yoga class at 4:30. And
it does sound pretty when you say it that way.
Right? It sounds terrible. And so that's my egoic. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve this. And I said that to Larry once, and he said, honey, just study the phenomenon of life. Study what's happening. You know, try not to get so caught up in between your ears around, it should be this way, it isn't this way, how can I let, he's doing that and I'm doing this. It's all ego, it's all comparison. And in this life, it's really hard to get away from that. It's so hard to get away from that. Isn't it? Yes. So, good luck. That's all I can say. Good luck with this whole show. You know, in a way, it gets easier. Some things get easier. Like now, I can read spiritual texts and they make perfect sense. Whereas 15 years ago, I would read spiritual texts and they made no sense. That got easier. Did money get easier? No. It didn't.
I was taught in engineering school that if you didn't do what you liked or loved, you would never be successful. Whatever your definition of success is. Because otherwise you're just, even if you have a lot of money, you're suffering in your job. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
And that was in engineering school. That wasn't like spiritual or anything.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, and if you want to build something, go experiment, mess up, and then do your own thing. Why do you have to like prove to someone that after engineering school you had your own building, like your construction company?
Yeah.
Go to someone else's, mess up, see what's what, and then do it. And if you like it, do it. Because if you start it and you don't like it, what's the point?
It sounds like you're going to a really good school.
It was a very good school.
Where did you go? Is this for your MBA?
No, that one really. Well, they both
Two.
Catholic, but this one was like Ibero, the same one that Carla did.
I did
Yeah,
also.
she was
Ibero.
there.
It's a really good.
It's very good. And the other ones, like this one, were Jesuits, so they're very open and they're very nice. And the other one was Opus Dei,
Which
so
is
they're more structured. And
Opus Dei, yeah, the Catholic. Okay.
Yeah, it's a Catholic school.
Spin-off, yeah.
A college, but it's from
Catholic
the
college.
Jesuits.
Jesuits.
So
They
they're
are
all
like the
learning.
most liberal part of the Catholic system.
The Jesuits the most liberal?
Now they are. They
Now
used
they
to be
are.
very weird, but now they're so like they're right now. It's amazing. Like they have like they built this new meditation center, and it's not Catholic. It's just like a place where you can go and think and whatever. There's a chapel, but and
Also, there's a chapel.
but like this place is for you, for your spiritual growth. And
Beautiful.
It's an amazing.
It's
school.
truly
I love it.
humanitarian. Yeah. They're very
It's all
focused
about
on
you.
humanism.
And
Yeah.
that's a college.
That's college. The other ones were
Beautiful.
more strict and like they would, mass is at 7:30 a.m. right? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. That's okay.
I'm good for today.
Yeah.
And that was school. But that was college too.
That was MBA.
That was MBA.
No, school was Jewish. And then we went to the Catholic.
Jesuit.
Opposite.
Now she's in the yoga.
Now she's
Jewish, Jesuit, yoga, and Catholic. You did good.
Yeah, I learned stuff.
Well, I'm glad that when you, I love to hear some of the things you've learned in school because they're so aligned, you know, and it brings back the truth that the truth is true always. Like, it's just true. However you color it up or fancy it up, I mean, the truth is true, and however you name it, and that's okay. That, you know, even a course talks a lot about this is not for everybody, and there's so many different curriculums and so many beautiful teachers, all with the universal principles of what's what, and that's what we're working with in this yoga system. Really, is the universal principles, not only of like how this whole thing works, but how yoga fits into that. And I think that that's really our niche. But we'll see how this thing plays out. You know, I said to these guys yesterday, the 4 of them teaching the Rocket, how inspired I was that I'd rather have 4 excellent students than 40. I would love the money from the 40. But the 4, like you guys, I'll take you any day. And I really believe that it's your responsibility now to continue to share the love, and that's how it's going to grow. And it's a very organic growth, and it's been 15 years now since at least I've been in the game, 15 years before that. So maybe it'll take another 15 years till we buy this house. And we just like buy it, and we're like, yeah, this is just our house. And people come and see us all the time, and you come and you go, and Valentina's cooking. You know what I mean, right? Like, this is just it. Ruby said yesterday, I want to live in Oaxaca forever.
Aww. I know.
I live in Oaxaca forever. I said, really, Ruby? Why? She goes, I want to see Pal every day.
Pal's not going anywhere. We're just hired for the nanny.
Then she said, if she didn't have a boyfriend, I would totally kidnap any of you.
You could go to Denmark sometime.
Any of you. Is your husband or your boyfriend's Danish?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So's mine.
Yeah.
And then she said, but really, Mommy, it's all the yoga friends. I mean, it's just such a beautiful thing. So anyway, we're gonna 2 more days together and just see how this whole thing plays out. And then we have a retreat after this. We have some people coming down. Not many, but like, okay.
Another one here?
Yeah, we stay in this house till the 20th. So it's beautiful, isn't it? This whole thing. So you guys had a great practice?
Yes.
Rocket 2? Yeah? Yeah? How was it?
It was so flowy.
So flowy. Great.
Yeah, like really connected and really like aware of my body and my breathing and my bandage and everything and drishti, but not taking it too seriously. Like I was there, but I was like, if I don't get to the asana, that's not.
Yeah. That's not the goal so
yeah,
much.
it was really flowy. Really had a really good meditation afterwards.
Great. Yeah, something to keep in mind about Rocket is that it's the whole sequence, isn't it? It's like, is it about this pose? I mean, Ashtanga classical is very like this pose, and then this pose, and then that pose. It's like, the Rocket is like all of the poses.
Yeah.
And it's like, what gets really fun is when you start to link the poses and come up with cool, awesome transitions, and they just kind of start to happen, and that's kind of the thing. So I'm glad your description was really flowy. It was really flowy. Yeah, because then you get into the flow of like this whole thing. Yeah, how was it for you?
I love the open chest movements. I think Rocket 2
Yes.
fits me like
Yes.
the best.
Yeah. So many back bends, right? Rocket 2 friends, 302s. How many back bends?
4.
6. 6 back bends with variations in between. So 6 core back bends in a row. So the whole idea was like, how are we going to get these guys faster? I mean, Larry didn't necessarily like say that out loud yet, but he was looking at those guys in front of him, thinking, how am I, like, this guy sits like this, like this, like this for 12 hours a day, every day for 30 years. Then what? His body's like that. So what does he need? A lot of back bends in a row. In a row. And that's really when he started to look at the system and start to place things together. So it makes sense, doesn't it? How you're going to get there faster. We just did 6.
I drank 2 coffees and I felt nervous and anxious. But then I get into the mat and I said like, I trust this will work somehow.
Yeah.
And it was maybe in the sitting poses that I felt like, oh, what a release. And because I start feeling my heart going slower than in the beginning when I was like feeling anxious.
Yeah.
And in some point I didn't realize when that happens, but it was like, yeah. Like everything going to the place in my body feels great. And
So like when you got to the hip openers?
no, the chest. No,
Yeah, but like when did you feel that happen?
Maybe Marishasana. When we like do this, in some point about the chest thing, I just felt like, this is. I noticed the beat of my heart.
Okay.
It was so much different, but
Nice.
it was not the whole time like being in that point.
Yeah.
Just in some point it was like,
Yeah.
what a relief, this whole thing.
Nice. Beautiful. Yeah, you can slow down your heart rate. I mean, Krishnamacharya can stop his. But we can slow ours down, which is still pretty cool.
And I get my pincha.
Ah, yes.
And I like when Danny says, look guys, everything is coming, everything is coming.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Like, and come back to that excitement, but not anxious, just happy. Happy instead.
Yeah. Like we talked about yesterday with patients. You know, you're sure of the outcome. I'm saying it and I'm reminding myself, Marie, you are sure of the outcome. You can afford to wait without anxiety. So, but I have all you beautiful people to show me how to do it, so. Thank you. Right on, pincha, pincha.
Rocket 2, I love
Wow. Everybody loves a rocket too. You're going to see people in the world, they're going to love that routine. They're going to love rocket too. You love back bends? Nice. I do not love back bends.
I used to hate them. And
Really?
they just have changed, and now I'm just like them.
That's great. I'm going to change my perception too. You know, that's how we define a miracle. It's just a shift in perception from fear to love. Or I don't like something to I do, or I'm unloving and now I'm loving. That's defined as a miracle.
They can make you cry.
Yeah.
Like everything's a miracle. Like for example, just water out of the faucet for us is normal. But imagine someone that comes from the desert or something like that, just opening it and there's water flowing, and the work that comes to get the water to you, that's a miracle. That's not like nature.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
It's interesting you use the faucet because Marianne says that we are the faucet and not the water. I love
So we
that.
open and close.
We are the faucet, not the water. We are just letting it flow. Like we're the faucet. Right on. What about you, my dear? It was awesome?
The first pincha that we went up into, it was just like this easy.
Yeah.
There was no effort required. I was like trying not to think about it. Just looking at my hands. But I wasn't like, breathe, breathe, breathe. It was just like, I'm still up here.
Awesome.
And then I got that one transition. I don't know the name of it. Ekapada, Ashtavakrasana to
Eight limb pose.
I was like, I got my foot through. It was just like one thing after, like it was like, oh, wow, it was cool, Marie. And I just felt super strong but really light at the same time. What did I write? I don't have to do anything alone. I have the power of the universe inside my soul. Anything is possible. I don't know. I really feel like it's true. Like just watching all this stuff happen. Like I can watch her do it enough, and in my mind I'm like, that just doesn't make sense. Like I can't like talk my way through this.
No.
And then it just happened today, and I was like, well, that makes sense. Like when I just let go. Defining it.
Yes.
But it was such a great practice.
And that will also be as it is when you teach.
It did make, I knew what was coming. I told Carla today, I was like, I didn't know. Yesterday I just didn't know. And I was like, today it just makes so much more sense. I'm like, oh, just break it down.
Yeah.
And what makes sense? Like what makes sense? What comes next?
Yeah.
It all makes sense.
Right. It's a very intelligent routine. It's very intelligent.
Yeah.
You have a nice flow. You were beside me. You have a beautiful flow.
Thank you.
It was inspirational. Your handstands, your flow, even your what's Navasana, but closer. What's it called?
That's the one Vina loves. That she does.
Like I'm like seriously. Like
The oyster.
Clam
oyster.
chowder.
The oyster.
yeah, she's like that's
Clams.
I'm like how is she? I'm like oh, you had a beautiful practice to watch. It was beautiful. Like
Yeah.
I watched it. I was gonna take a break.
I know, yeah. Just let her do the work. It was so light today too.
So
It was so light. I was like, wow, I'm so light. I had my kids watching The Incredibles. I was like,
It's so fun.
every time I bent down, I could make sure that they were strapped in, eating their pancakes. Thank you for that.
It felt playful
Mhm.
today, like playful.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I don't know, I connected with my inner child, something like that.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, our inner child needs a little bit more attention these days because life is serious business. You gotta.
His voice is great though. He makes it
Danny's fabulous.
just calm. The old little subtle jokes.
And the accent.
Yeah, the accent. Yeah, he's very like Confucius. A tall, like Confucius.
Yeah, right.
David, what's his name? David, what's his name?
Did a handstand, and he got afraid that he was gonna fall over. Over there.
He
Danny.
almost. He did or he
No,
didn't.
No, of course not.
He
But
went down because
he was like, I'm too close to the ledge.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna do it to the other side. No, he survived.
Thank goodness. We need him to stay healthy. Right on. It's so light. So light when you fill up with all this air. And what I heard you say was like, in the beginning, it's like, breathe, 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 banda, 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 breathe. It's like just to stay right where you are, boop, boop. But then after a while, you've trained yourself, and your body knows how to hang. So then you're like, right? A little bit like, this is interesting. It's almost like you've made like a deal with the universe. Like you made this like deal where God was going to let you stand on your hands as long as you thought aligned, you're vertical. There's an intersection between the vertical and the horizontal, and your vertical is aligned so that it infuses your horizontal experience, your life, because you're aligned. Handstands, pinchas, those are so powerful. So when someone says something like, real, you remember, well, I got vertical today, so hopefully that will infuse my reality here on this planet. Right on. Good work. Carmi got the rocket. Rocket 2s, boom, boom, so fun. Keep it going, keep it going. What about for you, love?
It was also weird. I started the practice and then I go like hip thing. Not intense, but it was like uncomfortable and I was like, what's happening? So I moved and it cracked, and then I moved and it cracked again, and it's cracking a lot these days. Everything. Not just that here. And then I was like, I'll just move on and not do, like if I feel anything, I'll just pull a little bit back and that's it. and then like it disappeared. I just stopped paying attention, I guess, but it disappeared, and it was amazing. I did Ashtanga I did like the jump through.
Nice.
I wasn't very well placed, but like I was there, and then I just did it again, so I could do it. And it was fun, and they were all amazing.
They were all amazing?
Mm-hmm.
They are amazing, aren't they?
Yeah.
These human beings? These human beings are amazing.
Yeah.
These human beings are privileged enough to be around my children. And they're privileged to be around you. Real human beings. What a gift, huh? Not like disempowered, bummed out. You know those human beings? You know where they live. They all live in Michigan. Sorry, Carmen. And Ohio. Or they live everywhere. They live everywhere.
There's everything everywhere.
Those cats. But we're unique. We're unique.
Yeah.
Because we know who we are. And that's the whole yoga thing. It's just learning about who you really are.
What did your tea say yesterday?
Yesterday was my vibe attracts my tribe.
That's so cool.
My vibe attracts my tribe. This one said something that today was good. I forgot. My vibe attracts my tribe. It's good. Jumped into Ashtavakrasana.
Yeah.
Super.
I'm getting there.
I'm happy for you. That's a great feeling.
Yeah.
That's an amazing feeling. Next move, tomorrow, I was thinking when I did it this morning for you, is handstand to Ashtavakrasana.
That's cool.
I did that today.
I'm gonna need assisting.
I did it today, like for the first time in a long, long time.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. On one side, the other side,
Your right leg
on my
went-
right side.
Your right leg went over as you came down.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was amazing.
I did handless headstand today.
A handless handstand?
Yeah, I used to do a lot of them though.
A handless headstand.
A headless. A handless headstand.
He was levitating. You missed it, Marie.
I was like,
Yeah, a handless.
A handless
Handless. Like that.
a,
On my head.
the Dharma one, the Dharma picture. Yeah, that's awesome. Good for you.
Actually, I do them for a lot. I used to do a lot of them. I can only do it against a wall or someone puts their hand. If I didn't hear, and you put your hand up here, I'll push my toes or my feet into your hand, and I can stay for like 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
No, not 5.
Oh my gosh.
About 3.5.
Ouch.
All depends what mood you're in or not in.
Ouch.
If you're not thinking, but you're focused. But if you lose your focus, it's very dangerous. You could hurt yourself. But as long as you're focused.
I'm not a headstand girl.
But then I fell down.
I'm
my
just a
first
handstand
pinch.
girl.
The point is, I fell down on my first pinch just after that. See, it's beautiful. It set the
You
pace.
did that headstand instead of a pincha?
No, I did the headstand. I came in, did my headstand. I did a handstand, and then I did a pinch and I fell right over. Flat, just right down. See how easy it was? It was so easy. Didn't know I even did it until I did it.
Well, so that's your style, is to do a couple asanas before you start?
To set my tone. And if you could do that without thinking about it, and then the rest of the practice you just tune out.
Yeah,
If I go in my head, first thing, without warming up, without thinking, without anything, take all my hands away, put all my body on my head, and not think, and just have my drisby, my inner peace, the rest is easy. So when I kick up into a pincha, you ain't thinking about it.
But that's why you fell. Okay, here's an It's Yoga challenge for you.
Here we go.
Here's an It's Yoga challenge for you. Because we're Ashtangis, so we start in what? Samastitihi.
Oh.
Yeah, it's sun salutes. That's it. I mean, I've never do something before sun salutes. I'm like,
I don't like to.
I don't know if it's like just my training, and that's your training, and that
That's
works
right.
for you.
It's your training.
But like, I just remember one class, I thought I'd get creative, and like, start in seated, like just like sit down and have a little meditation, and it was quite embarrassing. But Larry opened the door and he goes, "Samastitihi," and then he closed the door. And I was like, okay. And so I was like, so everybody come onto the top of your mat. I was so embarrassed, like I got in trouble or something.
Slowly.
And then I was like, dude, what was that about? And he was like, meanie. you start in Samasthiti. This is Ashtanga. And I go, yeah, but I just, no. Because I was like, he said we start in Samasthiti. And so I've just always gone to that like as some sort of a rule. And Carla was saying in the last training that that some Ashtangis will leave the class. Like if it says Ashtanga, they'll leave if they're not in Samasthiti. That's a very it's that it's Ashtanga is we start standing, Samasthiti, Surya Namaskar, A and B, done. Like there's no question about how that works. And another perspective could be something to the extent of people like, you know, this was a lunchtime class, okay? So people are racing from their offices to the studio, you know, for their modified primary series lunch class. And like they come in, they're clothes, and they put on the yoga clothes, and they get in, and then there you are, and you're like, please sit down and meditate. And they're like, you know, cracking. So the philosophy of Ashtanga is that people need to move so they can sit. That is a very, to get to the piece that you're talking about, like if you can just start there, okay, that's cool. But most human beings need to move. And even for me in the morning, and I'm still quite clear in the morning, I haven't checked my cell, you know, I might have started a load of laundry, I have my kid, you know, I'm thinking, but I'm not really engaged so much in the world. It still can sometimes take me a few deep breaths and salutes to like settle into, okay, this is what I'm doing right now. I'm moving and breathing in my meditation. So take it or leave it, but I would really invite you guys to start in Samasthiti. Let's keep that little bit of Ashtanga for yourself too and feel that out. So tomorrow, maybe, see how you feel about this. Without doing your little fancy tricks before, start in Samasthiti and let's see what happens on your first pincha. With the 142 movements of Surya Namaskar A and B. That's an ancient practice. I mean, I think it's just brilliant. Surya Namaskar A and B, today when I got on my mat, I thought, I'll be lucky if I get 5 A's and 5 B's from these children right now. I'll be lucky, but I'll take it. And then I'm like, I got to 3, and my inner dialogue was this: just do 3 and 3 so that you can do more rocket asanas. And then my inner teacher said 5 and 5, MDR. And I said, okay. So then I was like, okay, if I get 5 and 5, then I'll finish an MDR. And I was in a 6/6 tempo. And then I was like, okay, looking down, they were still sitting there eating their pancakes. I was like, okay, so I'll go through the warriors. You know, I'll get through the warriors and see how far I get. And then I got all the way to Bharadvadrasana, both sides, 1 abs to handstand before it was time to wrap it up. Which I felt that was so amazing. Isn't that great? I was bowing to them. Thanks, guys, for that. But I really would have had a complete practice and felt like I had had a complete practice with 5 A's and 5 B's. The rest for me was like such a gift for where I'm at in my life in this moment today. So you'll see how that plays out. But I really do want to remind you that the MDR is awesome. And a lot of times we think, well, if I don't get I don't have time for the whole thing, so I'm not going to do it. I'll just do a couple handstands. If you can find 16 minutes for the MDR, it can be a complete practice, okay? And choose that rather than like trying to work on your poses. Because that's the repetitive stretching that keeps your body loose, and that moving and breathing thing that we started this whole conversation with, that's so magical and mysterious. The flowy thing that happens. My holy vision sees all things as pure. Interesting. All right. How's your practice, my dear? Nada?
Well, the thing is that we have been practicing on the names. So I was focusing on breathing, but I also was focusing, before Danny would say it, I said Bakasana. So I did. I don't do it, but like I a little bit my toes and then I go back. But I was trying to remember the names of the asanas through the practice.
Great.
So that's what.
She's so funny. Do you see the face she always makes? That's what it looks like. Do you see when Carmi does it? Doesn't she look like Katrina, a Day of the Dead?
Like this?
Yeah.
She could look like that, right? In the Day of the Dead, the skeletons. She got it good. When she does that. So, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
That was my practice today.
And it worked.
Yes.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
Super. That's a great idea. We say that all the time. I remember when Larry, during my training, I just remember being like, every day at 4:30, like, I just love this rocket thing. It's so much fun. And every time he said the name of the pose, I would say it in my head. So yeah, if you hear a Sanskrit pose, and Larry's accent was horrendous. Like, I can't remember too, some of the words, I can't remember. So he said samastitihi, like really weird. We'll have to listen to his Rocket 2 video or something. Which Danny's gonna get you access to that stuff, the chant stuff. You have that though.
I'd love it, like,
MP3.
online. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't have to play a CD.
Oh, you don't have that online? Okay. Yeah, so say the names in Sanskrit to yourself.
And when he said kaputa,
Which one?
the pigeon, kaputa, he just say the name, but he didn't like give instructions, and I was like, yeah, I know how to do that. But and then the Raja also like it. So I'm getting familiar with the poses. That's what I enjoy.
That's great. Dwayne, did you hear that? That's what we're talking about. That beginners learn the names of the poses, so when the teacher randomly calls it, they know. Isn't that cool? And it just sounds so much sexier in Sanskrit.
Yes.
Agapada, kabada. Or like, no, king pigeon.
You gotta have one for happy baby. What's
Sleeping
happy baby
pigeon,
in
what is it?
Sanskrit? What is it? Because I hate the word happy baby. What's the Sanskrit?
Ananda.
Happy baby.
Ananda balasana.
Ananda Banasana. So I wrote
Balasana.
Balasana. So it's upside down. Okay, Ananda Balasana.
Ananda. Ananda
That
is
I will
happy.
learn. The word happy baby I cannot say.
Who's gonna go grab me a coffee?
I will.
I am on the coffee today. Ah! I heard you when you said I had 2 coffees.
Get what?
No, just so
What do you want?
nothing.
We just
To
want to
get
take
it,
that.
yeah.
Sure.
So they have more time.
And like everybody
Sarah
left.
said she was going to the bank and to pay for the tours.
Pay for the tools?
Tours. For the bioluminescence.
Oh, nice.
Bioluminescence.
That's good.
Fluorescent.
It's all good. How are you?
Glow in the dark.
I have a lot
What's-
of cramps. I'm dying.
Oh, from your period?
Yeah.
Did you drink
But
coffee?
I had a great practice.
Don't drink coffee.
I mean, I'm sleeping. I'm like trying to.
Have a black tea maybe, or green tea, or.
I'll have
Black
some.
and green. And
But yeah,
and white. I love
I
white
felt
tea.
so much better at the practice
Yeah.
because my body was warm, so I didn't feel it. But I finished, and when I was finishing Savasana, I was like, no, go away, please. And I have my little warm thing here, and it took a pill because this is not gonna happen just with the warm thing. So
Okay. But you're okay.
yes.
You know what? I had this great opportunity on Saturday, Sunday, and yesterday. I had the weirdest stomach thing happening. Like, I would be like walking, and then all of a sudden I would be like, oh, like shooting pains. And I had two options. I stay in bed. Sunday, you guys were going to the beach. I stay in bed and just every 10 minutes, like I was going to have a baby, but not here. You know that every 10 minutes, then it's 5 minutes, then it's 2 minutes, then it's like on. But I don't know, I had this moment of like, I'm not my body. I can choose to see this as pain, or I can, it was, I feel you, period cramps suck. But I just was like, I'm not my body. So I was like, I was walking with my kids, and then I was like, and then I just put my hands on it and just let it, and then it passed. And it lasted for 3 days. Yeah, all day yesterday. And I was in a circle, and my stomach was like, whoa. But I wanted to see if I could really just be with that. Is that crazy? A little bit. I just wanted to be able to be like, okay, that's happening.
I do that.
You do?
Like, for a long time I had very bad stomach aches. I had like typhoid.
Diverticulitis?
Yeah. So I was feeling bad, and I was like, if I'm feeling bad in my house, like, if I'm really ill, I'll stay. But it's like, I have a mild headache or a mild stomach ache, it's like, I'm just gonna do whatever I was gonna do. Like, what's gonna change? If I'm still feeling the same, you can do whatever it is. If I'm really, really ill, then that's different.
Right.
But you just go on because, like, it's stopping you from doing stuff, and if you're not really feeling that bad, you just need to think, like, be conscious of how bad are you feeling, and if you can do whatever you're about to do.
Yeah. It was like trying to get, I was trying to get higher than it. So, you know what I mean? I was trying to,
your pain.
yeah, and this is different because this is, the purpose of this is to lay down. This is women not wanting to lay down. Right? Sorry for just 1 second. You know, we put the thing and we run on with our life. But this is like a gift. So, you know, given you wanted to, you could take a good 3, 4, 5 days off your asanas and read your Course in Miracles, or read your, just kind of chill it down, maybe take a long walk. You could do that if you wanted to.
Now that you are in that topic, you have any idea about the period and the asanas and the
I'll tell you, for
I hear a lot of things.
I know, we
like
hear a
to know
lot of
your
things.
opinion.
7 years, I never practiced on my period. Then Larry passed away, and that was by choice because I was practicing so intensely. I was super physical twice a day for years. So it was like, I'd get my period and I'd be like, peace out, people. Good luck. Because when I did, I would get injured. I don't know if I was just, but you guys, I'm kind of insane. I'm kind of intense. Like, I had a lot to work through. Like, my child, I had a lot of stuff. So I never did. And then after he passed, I started to, because the cramps were so intense that I actually felt that it helped.
Yeah.
That like upward facing dog was like, oh, that feels amazing. I would just be mindful of my inversions. Now, because in my experience, and this is not scientific, but in my experience, if I hung out in a headstand, my period lasted longer. It just lasted longer. It was the weirdest thing. So, and it wasn't handstands or pinchas or anything. That's a different kind of an inversion. Those are more energizing inversions. So, my personal opinion would be I would skip shoulder stand and headstands during your period if you do choose to practice. And maybe, you know, not so strong in your handstands and pinches, just up and down, kind of laying off, because I really look at the whole practice as cyclical. It is all a cycle. Classically, we don't practice on the new moon and full moon. That's a very classical. Larry always took off new moon and full moon. Always.
No practice at all.
Yeah, that's an Ashtanga. Yeah. New moon and full moon, no practice. Then we've had trainers that have been like, yeah, but full moon practice is so empowering. So,
It's 108 sensations.
I don't know what tradition that is.
Which one's the longest day and longest winter?
No, equinox and
Solstice? Solstice?
Yeah.
solstice, summer solstice and winter.
Yeah, that's the 108. Is
Sometimes
that
they
a
do
shame?
it.
No, that's like how the world, how the universe works.
No, like no, I mean, normally you do 108 on the longest winter, and they call the winter solstice practice and summer solstice practice.
I've heard that. I don't know what tradition that's coming from, if that's just something Westerners made up.
Like,
But it could be a tradition.
You
This
know
is
what?
to bring in the new year
Yeah,
with
because in
a
Mexico
clean
they
start.
do it. En el Parque
Yeah.
de los Cisneros, eso es en Coyoacán.
They do it for charity.
What do you like to do, Turi?
I practice the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. For me, I always try to do everything. And I feel if I do handstand, it's a stop. It's making shorter. For me, it's shorter.
The period?
Yeah. But
You know, the thing is that it's like a downward flow. So it's like a downward flow. I don't know. So for me, it's like that's what my body's trying to detox, and now I'm going upside down, holding it in. So in my mind, sometimes it just doesn't make sense. And I'm really into feminine, taking feminine, valuing feminine time. So like I will have mine next weekend. So I'll probably take a good 2-3 days off asanas. I will.
There's proof that stretching helps with pains and cramps.
Yeah.
But like, and there's certain asanas that help, like cat-cow and
Yeah.
I think balasana.
Yeah.
And, like, some of those, but it's not like you can do whatever you want. What they say is like this specific asanas help.
MPS, cat-cows instead of downward facings, a little slower, a little breathing. Carmi's like, I just go for it.
2 rackets a day.
There are some.
Everyone.
I've not noticed any difference.
Yeah,
Nice.
I do it.
And you're in training now, so it's like you're gonna do it.
I gotta do it. I'm here.
Yeah, that's what you're here
It's gonna
for.
take 12 days off.
Yeah.
There are asanas
Good.
for premenstrual that are beneficial for pre, and then there's ones that you're not supposed to. And I don't remember, my mind's blank, but there are, when I come across the asanas, there are cues you give for this is good for premenstrual. This is good, not premenstrual. There are cues you give.
I have
it's just cues again. They're just
Yeah.
this is good for premenstrual. This is not advised for premenstrual. And as a male teacher, you don't ask. You just
Well, one of the things I would be mindful of when, let's say you're teaching, is to say, if you're on your cycle, please refrain from headstand. For me, that's a big
Usually they say like
no.
if you're,
Because then it's
You're in
like,
your mood.
No, but they say like if you're on your cycle, you might not feel comfortable doing it, but like you don't ask, so you don't like, no one cares. It's your whatever you're doing.
breathing.
I just don't like to like even bring it up. Then. If you're gonna give the
Yeah, right.
option for feet up against the wall, like, she's like, But I think it's a great gift to have a cycle. So let it, you're on a cycle. Adam was singing that song.
Just let it go.
Yeah, he was singing that, and then he was going, "You're welcome." You know that from Moana? You're welcome.
I like
That's a
Moana.
great song.
I love Moana.
I liked Frozen, but then I hated the music because it was everywhere all the
All the
time. And
time.
I was ice skating at that time, so it was like the winter
Everywhere.
festival, and they were practicing on and on and on, and let it go. I was like, please stop. It was such a good movie, and then like they ruined the music for me.
Super. Did everybody share? Everybody shared? You share? You did great? You like Danny? Is it good? It's nice to hear another man, yeah?
I like the slowness.
Yeah.
Just it's changed. Like
Yeah.
anything when I leave here next week, if I get anything other besides the marks on my map, it's really cool. Danny's example of just chill out. I can make a whole 10 postures just by doing Danny style.
Nice. Oh, I'm going
You
to tell
made
me
me
there's a
12
Danny
seconds.
style.
What's cool about him though?
Danny
is that
style's a
even
thing.
though he's just he takes his time with the instructions, the pace is not like that. Like
Yeah.
it actually moves quite.
Vigorously, can
Yeah, like it
I
just
thought it
is
was
like
a fall behind.
you don't have to like get it all in there super fast to move it along quickly. Like he can be super slow, but the pace is like right
The
on.
same.
Yeah.
Pretty
You know, I
good.
get a little like
Yeah,
slowing down.
yeah.
But,
I know you
like,
don't.
It's a nice combo.
Yeah.
Wow, look at you can
It's like a chill.
it is.
It's just chilling, but
Yeah.
it's not slow.
Right.
No, it's not slow.
Danny's so balanced. I mean, because he's spacious, which is a very feminine quality, very spacious, but also very direct.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Not a lot of direction.
it's like, boom, where there's spaciousness, but we're still like moving from pose. I remember the first class I took from him, and I was like, Danny, it was a modified prime. I'm like, that was amazing. It's amazing. And I'll tell you this, you guys, when Danny first came to us, it's yoga, if you will. He was a classical Ashtanga. Has he told you his story? Some of you guys, you guys might need to have a little Danny circle, a little minute. He's
We
so,
did a little bit.
But he was classical Ashtanga, like Patabi Joyce. He studied with one of Patabi's students from Norway, who's like authorized and like really committed to the classical system, and so he could jump through, he could jump back. He knew primary series quite well, and when he practiced handstands, he would go up, but when he fell, it was as if he was an elephant. And he's a very like tall, thin man, but it was shocking how heavy he was when he fell. He was like, boom, he crashed. Boom, he crashed. So you can't imagine that now, right? Because he's quite light. So we have worked a lot with him on how to fall, pulling your bandhas in, landing on your toes. I mean, it was just really, I can't even explain to you the sound. It was a lot. So transformation is going to happen. Karen, if you want to go lay down in your bed, go lay down in your bed.
I'm recording all of this, so I'll send you what you
Okay, yes. Oh.
I can leave the room for that.
No, you're just not
I
here.
just take a pill, so probably.
Go lay down.
Yeah.
It was Tylenol.
Go lay down. Yeah, she's like, it wasn't anything serious.
No, because they have like something, and I was like, I only have Tylenol and like the thing to help you digest stuff, just in case. And she's like,
Enzymes.
yeah, I have those if you need any.
I should show you how much stuff I have.
And she was like, does that work? And I was like, I don't know, I've never like used them for that. She googled it, they work.
Tylenol works for that. All right. All right. So I want to talk to you guys about our theme. Our theme today? Our theme?
No, it's like we skipped.
We skipped.
Danny adjustments. Sorry to interrupt you one second. Danny did adjustments, which was nice.
Great.
He made me look sideways to the horizon versus my hand, which is really cool.
For what pose?
Trikonasana.
Yeah.
He did Trikonasana. I always look down. When I look up, I get dizzy. But he made me look halfway. Not all the way down, all the way up. Halfway.
Right
It
on.
actually felt good.
Dwayne, you're looking fabulous.
Oh, am I?
You are. He's looking great. His face
What,
is.
I'm not cranky?
I didn't say that. See how people are. You give them a
Listen,
compliment.
we'll never agree
Thank
on
you.
falling. I like
Thank you,
falling
Marie.
today. Today falling felt good.
Well, then that's empowered. That was a choice you made. That's all I'm saying.
I chose to fall.
Yes.
I chose to be smooth and quiet and graceful about it.
You're not a victim of falling.
And then the other 4 pinches are perfect.
Beautiful.
A powerful thought I keep. I choose not to fall.
Yeah. I choose not to
I
fall.
like that. That was a good conversation yesterday.
Thank you.
Really clarified a lot of things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It can happen, but I choose. Like,
I'm
To
just.
be in control.
Yeah.
And to
I like to let go of control. When you're OCD and always in control.
But that's a different
I
thing.
like to let go.
OCD is of the ego. Alignment is of the spirit. So.
I had to go back 10 years and start reading a lot more to keep up with you, okay? You know that, right?
Well, you can start now. You don't have to go back. Now is the only time that there is.
two more comments just about the practice that they were like truly important for me because this was like what a practice.
This
like,
was a big one.
blow my mind. I like the Danny's slowliness thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't slow because I was doing really slow at the beginning, and I felt like, oh, now you're here. So it wasn't slow, but it was strong. I feel it was strong because the new chaturanga I'm training, it's different than the one I was used to. I was doing a lot of stretching in my back.
Yeah.
And until now I feel like a release and like a release, and I've been just opening my legs and making longer in my back.
Yeah.
So when I'm doing like the chaturanga thing, it's like, wow, this is the straight, the real straight, not just falling.
I'm so excited for you. I could
I
just do
can
like a
notice
flip
that
or
in
something.
that,
you can do a handstand.
I might just have to do a handstand right now.
in that flow,
Hold on.
in that flow, I can observe it.
Yeah.
If we were doing more fast, maybe because of follow the rhythm of the group, maybe
Yeah.
I would do it like I used to. But as we have been practicing slow and as we have been practicing with Danny, I can become like super conscious about like, this is chaturanga,
Yes.
the real one,
Yes.
and we
Yes.
get back and it's from,
Right.
not just fall.
Right. And it all comes together. I think that's what we're coming to the end of the training. So, you know, the hands and feet make sense now. Drishti makes a little bit more sense. The bandhas make a little bit more sense.
Is it I always feel pain in my back. I always used to feel pain in my back. This is the first time I'm like, no, I'm not something.
She
This is the
also
thing.
really went up from Prasarita to handstand.
She did do that? Nice.
Wow.
Did he catch you or you did it yourself?
She was by
No,
yourself.
I did it by myself.
Yeah.
But in the handstand, he was there, and in my first pinch,
Yeah, but she jumped in.
This is amazing, isn't it?
It's so cool.
It's like tripping out.
I kept hearing the ground is closer than you think. Like when I'm folding forward, when we were in Hanumanasana. Like on one side I can really do it, on the other side I'm like, oh, I can't get down to the ground. And
Yeah.
it's like just breathe
Yeah.
and relax, and it's like, oh, it's right there.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so much further.
You were down both. Though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because
But even like the center splits and forward fold.
gals like Carmi,
Upavishta,
Upavishta.
Konasana.
Yeah, and I think the most powerful thing was this coffee bath feeling in the morning. Like I was like, and I tell to myself, okay, this is gorgeous. This has been everything super, super, super gorgeous. But you will come back home, and maybe you feel in the temptation of being bad.
Mhm.
So, okay, go to your mat, do your practice, learn more, enjoy everything, because this is a thing you will be carrying in your heart for those moments. That was the thing that
Wow.
I was like
Oh,
everything
wow.
comes together when I was there. Like, okay, this is the thing I want to carry in my heart next few weeks, and in 1 month, and in 2 months.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You guys are
Thank you.
Like chosen to be like those chosen learnings.
Yeah, you're welcome. Choice is such an empowering realization. When you realize you are at choice. I mean, it just changed my whole reality. And it continues to. Because I know when I'm one way that I'm choosing that. And when I'm another, I'm also choosing that I'm collaborating with my experience. I'm not a victim of it. It's not just that stuff is happening to me and I can't control anything.
Yeah, when you said the first time, like, if we are feeling bad and blah blah blah, it's because we also chose it.
Yeah.
And I felt it. They were like, yeah.
You chose it. You drank 2 cups of coffee
I
and
have always 2 options, this way or that way.
Right.
And sometimes I choose to
yeah.
use the other path, yeah.
And you know what the good news is, Tori, is that even if you go there, it's still good.
You can't mess up.
You can't mess up. Like, so even if you did have 2 cups of coffee, it actually taught you something.
Yeah.
And you can choose to do that again or not.
You practice.
I always think about that like when I'm in a really bad mood
Yeah.
and I'm feeling sorry for myself and terrible. But that's the thought that goes through my head. You're choosing this, and sometimes I'm like, I'm okay with feeling this
Yeah.
right now. It's not okay to feel this way all the time,
Right.
but when I'm ready to pull myself out of it, I know that I can make the choice to feel different. Yeah.
I
That's an
always say,
empowering
like,
tool.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
like I always say, once you find the light, there's nothing that can take it away from
Yeah.
you. And that doesn't mean that you're gonna be happy and just perfect and in samadhi all the time. It's just when you're feeling all the negative stuff, it's so much easier to realize and go out of there.
It is.
And I think it's important sometimes to allow yourself to feel what you feel.
Mhm.
I was saying that to Daniel yesterday. I was like, Danny, I mean, all this stuff is going on in the circle. And I don't know if I'm feeling it. Like, you know, because there's this part of me that, in a way, like, I kind of have to stay here. Because here's my role. I always have to see the light in you. That's my, like, I see the light in you no matter what you show me. That's what I've committed to and agreed to. No matter what a student shows, I always see the light. That's intense. That's a big one. No, and it's not only with students, like that's my commitment to any human being. Whenever I see someone, like I'm only going to see the light because that's all that's real. But in a way, it's like there's some, I still have fear, I still have sadness. Like if someone tells me they were abused as a child, in the moment, I know that that's an illusion and that's something that happened to their body. That's not something that happened to them. I know that they have the power to heal themselves. Like I know all of those things intellectually. But what I'm realizing is that the more I continue on this path, it's not that I'm not feeling. It's just that the level of detachment is really settling in. It's like, because that's how I believe the universe is. Like the universe's peace is not going to be changed by our forgetting of it or our insanity, or like it's always there. It's like you're saying, like the light is always there. And in a way, I'm like settling into it deeper and deeper and deeper. But every now and then, I've got to have a real good like, blah, exhale. You know? The good news is that I have a partner who can always stay in the light when I go to the dark. And that didn't happen overnight. That happened because I was very clear on what I needed when I went there. I don't go to the dark often, but when I do, here's the deal. You stay in the light. 100%. No, everything I'm saying is an illusion. We'll extract from it what needs to be extracted, what the learning is, but you stay there. And remind me of all of the things that I talk about all day long. So talk to me about, you know, love being real. Talk to me about how I'm doing great. Talk to me about how I'm always connected to my source. And, you know, say those things to me, even if I'm crying and screaming at you and telling you it's all your fault.
I had the same job with my boyfriend.
Good.
And I was like, just tell me that you love me and everything's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Just say that.
that's
Because they just want direction too.
Yeah. You know what's a good visualization for that too? Somebody explained it. Like women need to storm every once in a while.
Yeah.
And you're like that tree, like one of these big strong palm trees.
Yes.
The guy in the middle of the storm, and you're just there,
Yeah.
and you're taking everything, but you're not gonna break, you're not gonna leave, you're not gonna disappear, and
Wow.
just let it all go by.
Wow.
Because none of it makes any
Wow.
sense. Like don't listen to the words.
Yeah.
But just be there. Like just be there for me. When I go to that place, just I know that you're there.
Yeah.
You know, don't feed into the fear of like, see, I
Right.
went there and you left.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's
Yeah,
really,
because that's just,
that's really bad.
see, I told you. Yeah.
Or
I'm
he
not-
goes there too,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is almost worse than
Right.
you should probably just leave. Leave the room and come back in a couple hours and things will, I'll work it on myself. Thank you very much. You know, I just need a tub.
Hold
And,
that thought. I'm going to get groceries.
yeah.
Just, you're mad now. I'll be back in an hour. Sleep now. I'll be okay.
But I'm glad that you went there, Tori, because it's really inspiring to see that it's all coming together, and that what really essentially we're doing is we're just becoming more aware and conscious. And you know, Center of Excellence coaching model, Dorothy always said it's like this. The first phase is awareness. The second phase is healing. And the third phase is vision.
What's that fourth story?
A Center of Excellence coaching model is designed around 3 phases. The first phase is awareness. We've got to become aware of our obstacles. We've got to become aware of the way in which our patterns are moving us on our mat and off our mat. We need to put our drishti and focus on ourselves. Because most of us, the minute we focus on somebody else's stuff, we're missing what we're up to. The minute you diagnose somebody else, you're not diagnosing yourself. You can only focus on one thing 100%. Right? So first it's awareness, shining the light on you. How am I responding? How am I being forgiving? How am I interpreting this? How am I moving in chaturanga? How do I communicate Ekapada Raja Kapotasana? How do I? Then I can see what's in my way. Okay, I need to correct chaturanga. I need to find some better tools for chaturanga. Then I learn, I heal. Second phase, healing. I can't heal what I don't know I have. Right? It's like with this. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was. Now that I know, I can heal it. Now that I'm healing, which is an ongoing process, and in my mind, this whole human experience and the reason we're here is because that is ongoing. I don't think we're ever like, when we have no more use for the body, we'll let it go. But we're here to heal. And when we're in that process, we can start to create vision. We can co-create with the universe. Oh, I want to read you something. A lot of us, we just want the vision part. I want this life, I want this job, I want this, but we're not looking to look at how we are responsible for that. Like what awareness do I have around how I'm going to get there? We just want the vision. We want the handstand. We're not willing to look at our hands and feet. You know what I mean? I just want handstand. It's like, well, can you inhale for 4 and exhale for 4? You with me?
I'm with you.
Yeah, you are. So I really find that really kind of the crux of it all. Like the essence of this whole practice is having this awareness that you can speak about your practice, that you're consciously engaged in it, and you're journaling about it. You notice, well, when I do the headstand first, I do this. When I do this, it feels this. When I put my hands here, I feel it here. I can now heal myself, and when I heal myself, you healed your father-in-law. Because all minds are joined. And you can't give something away that you don't have. You've got to receive it first, and then you can give it away. That's why we are always saying to you, practice before you teach. Fill your gas tank, right? And then go share it. Because you're the faucet, not the water. You've got to receive it. You've got to receive it first. And that's really what generosity means. This is our theme for today, is generosity. I love this one. So I'll read for you a little bit, okay? The term generosity has special meaning to the teacher of God. It's not the usual meaning of the word. In fact, it is a meaning that must be learned and learned very carefully. Like all other attributes of God's teacher, this one rests ultimately on trust. For without trust, no one can be generous in the true sense. So here it goes. To the world, generosity means giving away, in the sense of giving up. To the teachers of God, it means giving away in order to keep. I give love to keep it. Right? It's coming for you. Good, Val. It's coming for you. So I'm going to read that again. To the teachers of God, it means giving away in order to keep. This has been emphasized throughout the text in the workbook, but it's perhaps more alien to the thinking of the world than many other ideas in our curriculum. Its greater strangeness lies merely in the obviousness of its reversal of the world's thinking. In the clearest way possible and at the simplest of levels, the word means the exact opposite to the teachers of God than it does to the world. The teacher of God is generous out of self-interest, with the capital S. We're generous out of our self-interest. I love that. This does not refer, however, to the self in which the world speaks. The teacher of God does not want anything he cannot give away, because he realizes by definition it would be valueless to him. So if I can't give you joy, it doesn't have any value. I don't want to give you anything that I don't want to.
Or like
Say what?
to be generous with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Out of self-interest.
To
Yeah. Exactly. He wants to keep for himself all things that are of God, and therefore his Son, which is us. These are things that belong to him. So these are things that belong to you. These he can give away in true generosity, protecting them forever in himself. So let's break this down. I can give you tools because I've received them. We talked about that a little yesterday. I can talk to you about the breath because I've experienced it. That makes sense, right? And I give it to you. When I give it to you, it affirms that I have it. So when I give it to you, I actually do that because it helps me too. It's a win-win. Win-win is the way the universe operates. The world operates in win-lose. Like if I give you love, then I sacrifice myself. I don't take what I want, but I give you what you want. We think in our old patterns of thinking, in our old mentality, that that's generosity. Don't we? And Val, you have had such a great opportunity to really make a major shift in your life. Because up until this point, her whole thing has been about other people. Because she's doing that out of her little self-interest. So she can get love. What she thinks is love, but it's not working for her. She's not feeling it. Because that's not how it works. You can't give it if you don't have it. So in a way, she was processing, well, isn't that selfish? Then I'm being selfish. People are telling me I'm selfish now. Larry's line was, we do this practice so that we're less miserable to be around. People would say that it was a selfish pursuit to practice yoga. And he would say, no, 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 no. It's selfless. Because now I am less miserable to be around. This is serving you. Me practicing yoga is good for you. Yes.
When I was on my MBA, like we were moved every semester, but I was next to a guy, and when I wouldn't like practice yoga or exercise, I would just be like this all the time. I would get that little bit hyperactive. So he would turn and was like, "Can you go to your yoga class?" I was like, "No, please go today. I cannot concentrate."
Cute.
I almost burned his face. So
Oh my gosh.
It was an accident.
No, but it's okay. Yeah, because when you practice yoga, I mean, A Course in Miracles says that you're here for the salvation of the world. You. Salvation of the world, what does that really mean? It's a Christian term, but it doesn't mean that. It just means, what can you really be saved from? Your insanity, your incorrect thinking, your wrong-minded thinkingness, that generosity, your misinterpretation of generosity. You taking on the thinking of the world, which means you're a woman, you need to serve your family and your children, and you need to suffer to receive love. That's what the world teaches us. Now you know that that is incorrect. So you look at what happened, you look at your family of origin, you look at all the patterns they gave you and all the insanity they gave you, and you go, okay, thank you very much for all of these opportunities to learn and to become aware of what I want to value. Because remember, it all comes back to trust. And trust is sorting out what's valuable and what's valueless. So in a way, it's easy to give up the thinking of the world, because it doesn't bring us all the things that we really want, which is joy and peace and faith and love and all of those things. So a lot of people in the beginning of the practice would say to me, well, my mother, I didn't raise you to disrespect us this way. So then I go back, okay, is that the thinking that I'm keeping, or is that the thinking I'm giving away? That's the thinking I'm giving away. Please forgive me, it is not my intention to disrespect you. However, I am listening to my inner compass these days. And in the end, you're going to see that that's the adult thing to do. Otherwise, I would just be a child, and you're grounding me, and I'm 25. And at some point, I need to become an adult, and that's what I'm doing. So if I make a choice that you disagree with, then I'm going to learn my own lessons, right? So there's like this detachment that happens, I was speaking to earlier, with other human beings. It's like, I'm not so invested in your perception of what's right and wrong, because my focus is 100% on my inner compass, my inner teacher, my inner guide. That really shakes people up. Mm-hmm. It really does. But let me tell you something. Your purpose is to shake it up. I've said that 100 times. I wish it didn't have to be so hard for you. I wish I didn't always have to challenge you. Just my presence can really drive people crazy. Does that mean that that's my intention? We've talked about that word. Certainly not. I didn't wake up in the morning thinking, I'm just going to drive everyone crazy. Certainly I did not. But I did intend to be a servant to one thing, which is everything, which is love. So in a way, I'm being generous. But they don't see it that way. They don't, because their thinking is different. And that's really where we start to kind of make a shift. In our consciousness, collectively, needs to go here for us to sustain ourselves. Because the consciousness of the world is destroying it. And that's the whole purpose, really, of life, is to come back to self-actualization. Who am I? Who am I? Isn't that the ultimate question everyone's walking around with? Who am I? So all of these texts, everything that we practice, chaturanga, downward dog, pinchas, all of that, is to come back to, wow, I am light. Or I am heavy. You decide. It's your choice. We've talked a lot about the fact that your mind is powerful and you have no neutral thoughts. None of your thoughts are neutral. They are powerful because God is powerful and God created you. You didn't create yourself. Look at me, I made this whole thing up. Could you imagine? That's how most of us are operating. Look, I made this, I can do this, There is no you. There is only us. There's no you. You are an illusion. You just live in the mind of God. You're an expression of, you're that ray of light to the sun. That's what you are. And most human beings are going, no, I'm not. And neither are you. You better get with the program. And the minute that language comes, you know the difference. You go, oh, that's judgment. Oh, okay.
That's magical.
Right. Course in Miracles calls that magical. And miracles are very different. What we need are miracles. We need shifts in perception. People need to change their minds because their minds are powerful. So we are generous out of self-interest to affirm again, because do you know how much affirmations it takes to get here? A lot. I just had a major meltdown last night. Major. And then it was like, okay, well, there was that. Now I'm high again. Because it was like, what I was doing was I was taking it all and keeping it for myself. That's not generosity. I said to Daniel, I need to be fully self-expressed with these people. I'm holding back. But I was blocked. And that was happening in my body. So I emotion, and now I'm light again. I got on my mat, I was like, wow, I'm so light, thank you. I'm so glad that only love is real. I'm so glad about that I literally want to go around the world telling everybody, listen guys, dude, Only love is real. Only love is real. All that stuff about yourself is untrue. Stop telling yourself that. Stop telling other people they're, that too. Tell them they're perfect. Even when they're not, which is what you've been doing. And that, I just want to commend you. Look at how she's sitting today. You see? Do you see this? What's happening here? It's just amazing. It's beautiful. She's like, all right, man, I'm going to do this. And the good news is that you don't have to be strong. You don't have to know all, you just got to be open. And surrender every day to the fact that, you just don't know it all. You just don't know it all. You know a little bit. You know you're light. You know you're loving. You know you're here for the peace of the world. You know you're here to raise a happy family. You know you want a happy marriage. You know those things. But you don't know what anyone else, You don't know that stuff. Well, those people are like this, and those people are like this. And those people are not like anything. They're just like you too. Remember Muktananda, he said all human beings want is divine happiness. Everyone can share that. Comments or questions on generosity?
Can I read you what I wrote yesterday?
Sure.
Because Carla was so cute. She was when we were all out together jumping up and down, and she's like, my mighty companion. Yeah. And I just love that so much. And I was journaling yesterday, and it just was like, we are mighty companions joining hands and hearts to heal the world. Mm-hmm. And it's like, God, that's just such a lovely way to think versus, this sucks.
Yeah.
This sucks. This sucks.
And that person's better than me, and that person's worse than me.
Compare myself to everybody. I tell myself I'm not okay. It's just nice to have another option.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And you'll always know in your energy if you're in love or in fear. And so if you are feeling like these are not my mighty companions, that's time to just, okay, work your tools, pull your navel in, take a minute, go put your head below your heart. Every day you put your head below your heart. Why? Dude, because you got to let stuff go. You got so much stuff in between your ears. It's got to go. And the qualities of your heart. Think of all of that good stuff in your heart chakra. That's going to nurture your brain. Your mind is here, but your brain is here. And your brain is the computer. And it has an undeletable file in there that knows exactly who you are at all times. It's undeletable. It only sees your perfection. Only. Even when you're like, "Bleh!" It's like it doesn't even see it. And that's why we can continue to say that only love is real, because all of that is your insanity and none of it's real. And there's a part of you that knows that eternally, and you cannot ever change that. No matter what you do, you can never change who you are. For me, that really brings true humility. Because no matter what I do, I'm always a child of the universe. No matter what. That's why I always say to you, you can't mess up. Larry said that. You can't mess up. Say what?
That you can't mess up because everything is an opportunity.
Yeah, everything is an opportunity for growth. And the part of you that's holy is holy always. Holy is whole. HWOLE. In Dorothy's training, we had, I am whole and complete. That was one of our X's. I am whole and complete. And holy, and what you were speaking to earlier, Carmi, is when I think of these people, not only in the circle, it's easy in the circle because we're all doing the work, we're all like, but when we think about these people, that we're in a holy relationship with those people too, that's where we're going with this. Because the other option is that you're in a special relationship. And A Course in Miracles speaks about a special and a holy relationship as a special relationship is like, well, she's my mother, she can treat me terribly. Or, well, this is how I am with this person. That's special. And special means you either think that that person is better than you or worse than you.
You're making a judgment.
You are making a judgment, and you are operating outside the universal law that all the sons of God are equal.
We are one.
And we are one son of God. We are one human race. You are human beings. Those people are not better than these people. Period. It just doesn't, like, it's a sunbeam, right? So like those sunbeams are better than those sunbeams. It just doesn't make any sense. It's against the universal law. It's only one sun. So when we're in special relationships, it throws us off our center. It throws us off our center. So the goal that we're working towards is holy relationship. Now, just the fact that you said judgment implies then we need to forgive.
And that you're judging yourself and you judge others.
Judging yourself and others. So if I think someone's better or worse than me, I have made a judgment. Because now I'm not seeing them as equal to me. Or I see myself, yoga teachers often, we got this complex big right now in the industry around, I'm better than you. I know more than you, and you are here to learn from me. So, that's special. That's a judgment. When I shift my perception, i.e., I choose miracle instead of magic, it would be magical to think I was better than them. Like there's a spell, you know. When I know that we're holy and we're equal, then my thoughts align to their thoughts, save the world. I can tune into that part of me that's always holy and the part of them that's always holy. Otherwise, we're in these relationship with egos. It's like, I make an ego for you, I'm in an ego with you. That's like, you know how that feels, don't you? It just doesn't feel right. And in the practice, in the It's Yoga system, Larry always said, what we're doing is waking up our feeling bodies and quieting our thinking minds. So your feelings have a lot of value in this thing. They will support you in indicating where you're at. Am I in special? Am I in holy? Am I being generous? Or am I withholding love? If you know that your husband is equal to you, even though you might have some more spiritual tools than he does right now, because that's a fact. You might have more tools than he has right now. But if you think that makes you better than him, that will cause you suffering.
Yes.
And your marriage will be off. But when you know he's equal to you and you just keep sharing, being generous out of self-interest, because I am happy now if I am loving, even if you are not loving right now. I know that that's not true about you. There's something beyond that. And I am going to inspire you and nurture and love on you until you get there. And I can be patient because I know you are going to get there. I just know that. Whatever form, I just already know that. Because that's, the truth. Wow, I'm so grateful for this conversation. Thank you for this. And this was for me just as much as it was for you. I really needed to feel like I was holding back a little bit. Maybe you didn't know that, but I felt it. Just a little hint of it. Cautious. You ever feel that way in a class? A little cautious, a little like, And, and this stuff is pretty deep. And a lot of us we're holding on to those old patterns because that's what we know. Larry would say it takes a lot of courage to step into the unknown and to know that you're going to be okay there.
It's also inspiring because sometimes we believe our yoga teachers, they are not humans. And maybe that's a judgment about ourselves. Yeah. Like, and to realize like it's normal life.
Yeah.
It's about being.
Yeah.
It's about the way we connect.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Ourselves with the world, ourselves with the universe, and to see as humans, as human beings.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of better than or worse than. You know, and that was really direct lineage stuff with Larry, because it was like he didn't like it when people called him, "This is my yoga teacher." He'd say, I'm not your yoga teacher. I'm your facilitator, your instructor, I'm your friend, I can be a little bit of your mentor. But he would always say, if I can do this, guys, you can do this. If I can do this, you can do this.
Yeah, because it becomes something achievable, because those are the tools, use it.
Yeah.
It's not about a powerful force, it's not accessible for us.
Right.
It's just about getting conscious.
Right. Right. You got it. She got it. You got it. Yeah, because that would be, again, against the laws of the universe. Because God doesn't love me more than he loves you. Doesn't see the difference.
Because there's not.
Because good, we're good.
Water, coffee, green?
There is no difference.
There is no difference. He shines on all with equanimity. Again, that's the difference between the way that the world is operating and the way that, fingers crossed, and a lot of faith and visioning around how the yoga, maybe not the whole industry, but that at least what we're putting into the industry is that messaging. That's what this is about, self-actualization, and who are you? And landing in love. Because it can land you in ego if you choose that. And the yoga industry is very immature in many ways. This is not a judgment, rather an observation of what's happening with this teacher-student business around, I'm better than you, you need my adjustments. Yeah, you know, if it's collaborative and I give out of self-interest, big S, that's a different thing. That's aligned to the vertical. But even the slightest hint of ego is going to throw it. Because you can't have a little bit of love and a lot of fear, or a little bit of fear and a lot of love. It's one or the other. It is either love or fear. It is either judgment or forgiveness. It's just, I didn't make up the rules. It's just, I'm trying to follow them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, because a lot of us want to hold on to, well, but that person really did that to me. You know, I can forgive those people, but I can't forgive them. Or a girlfriend will come to you and say, you know, that, I mean, you're like, well, you can forgive him, but then if it happens to you, you wouldn't be able to. You can forgive him for that. You can be sure that the universe is going to give you an opportunity to practice that too. Everything I'm saying to you, I get these lessons like 800 times. Because that's how it works. I asked for it. I did. I asked for it. I said, okay, well, use me. It's collaborative. It's kind of fun that way. It's collaborative. I love generosity. I like the challenge at times, you know, to be in the midst of that conversation with someone that I'm in a special relationship, i.e. my father. And to feel, okay, am I going to choose to go into victimization here? You are not intelligent. You do not make money. I make some money. I just spend it all. I don't have the same thought system. And I'm growing the business. And yes, it's taken 15 years, but who cares? That's what time is for. But I could go into that, or I could just stay here with myself and allow him to stay where he was. Do you see the difference? Because if it was special, I would be like, oh my God, Danny, my dad doesn't think I'm intelligent. It just was fine, actually. It was fine, because I learned a lot about, gosh, where he's at. That must be really uncomfortable. To value people based on what they do, rather than who they are. That was a big wake-up call for me, because I thought they saw who I was, and they valued that. It doesn't mean that they didn't. It's just that in that moment, he valued money more than authenticity. Following your heart and your dreams and your love and all of that. That takes a lot of courage, doesn't it?
Yes.
I think so. It's a lot easier to just sell out. You suffer, but at least the world will accept you. But the world will never accept you, because the world like that is an illusion. It's all based on competition. Blah, blah, blah. You know that. You're in it. So are you. So are you. We're all in it. But we're not from it. And it doesn't dominate us. Not anymore. Not anymore.
Also, I was thinking, as a facilitator of yoga, I think generosity is a really extraordinary quality, no? Because right now there's like a lot of, well, I've seen it, yoga teachers that they work through the ego. Like, I know I can do this and I can do that, and I have my perfect Instagram account. And like, giving you, instead of, I think that you are truly generous because you are able to share this like enlightenment with all of us, and I am very thankful for that, because I also want this.
I know.
And I think that right now yoga, it's going the other way, you know. The ego, the competition, I can look like really sexy on my back dance and see my photograph on Instagram, and
it's a fine line, because again,
It's hard. It's a gymnastic.
They don't say it as a spiritual path.
or it's a pseudo spiritual path, because the ego again is gonna. The ego knows all the spiritual language. I mean, it's not like it knows it can spout off all that stuff too. So that's why I'm asking, like, trust your feelings. Like, do you feel at peace? Because that's when you know. Miracles happen naturally. When they're not occurring, something has gone wrong. Miracles aren't natural. If you continue to give your issues back to the one who can correct them, miracles will come. Shifts in perception, ideas, visions, where to go, who to say it to, who to talk to, when to leave, all of those things. It's just in trust, we'll give some things to spirit, but not all things. And the yoga industry is like that. We'll give some things to, like, look at how beautiful this is, but the spiritual evolution of it, we're not interested.
That's so sad.
Well, we could look at it from that perspective. It is, on some levels, but on the other level, it's an opportunity for those of us who, because you can just say, well, maybe they didn't have the tools.
It's also if the world in general is somehow that way, it's a cult for some.
It's a
cult.
A cult?
I know a lot of people who get into yoga in the gym, like just practicing once.
Yeah. So it's great. Yeah. You mean it's good because it's bringing people into yoga? Yeah, I mean, it brought Dwayne into yoga. It's bringing all of us, into it. It's just, we've got to continue to evolve it. That's all. And that's what we're up to. Is like you continue to evolve your classes. You'll attract people who are willing to go, go here. Slowly but surely. Everything is in divine right order. So even though we look at something and we think it's sad, and that's just part of how it's evolving. So all those beautiful yoga studios that are shiny and pretty, and the perfect clothes and the perfect beautiful women, and all of that, we can judge that, or we can celebrate it and continue to grow with us, and because then we're not any better if we're like, you guys don't even know about XYZ.
Once I feel judgment about some other yogis who always dress white and do this kundalini stuff. Like, okay, so I was like, no, brother, just give me a hug, and we share. But there are a lot of colors, and it's something personal. Like,
well, that's the kundalini thing. That's what they do. They wear white.
I think too, with generosity, for me, once I was able to figure out that it was missing and how I was going to give back, it allowed me to heal. Like with my dad and everything I was processing, I finally got really clear, and I was like, okay, I can give back. I'm at a place where I can share my experience with other people because it might help them get through it. they're going through, and like I feel like I want to do that.
Yeah.
Because people did it for me when I was in that spot. And it just helped that part of me heal so much.
Beautiful.
And too, with this practice, like I fell in love with it, and now I get to share it. Like I get to. That's so cool. And you want to know what? It makes me happy. Every time I ask, why am I here? I always get to be happy. It's not hard.
May all beings everywhere be happy and free.
Yeah.
That's what we're up to. All beings everywhere happy and free. Happy and free, including us.
Right.
That's what generosity teaches us, including you.
You're a part of it.
No, I'm not good enough. I'll never be a good teacher. Those people are so much better. But your key word is that once I became aware of my patterns, and what I saw you do is instead of looking at your patterns and judging them, well, those shouldn't be there, I should know, but nada, 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 nada. Eso no. Nada. It's you look with curiosity on all of your garbage.
I love that.
It's like, well, how did this all get here? This is just a big fat garbage can. And you get to start sort it out. And then lay it on this big, grand, beautiful table. And then start to take things away. That was that experience with my father when that happened too. This is that experience with this, and then that's it. And then it's just that clean slate again. And given you recall any of that, it is only for the learning of yourself and others. It's not to prove that you're an ego or you've been victimized or any of that. It's just to show how you've evolved from it. So when you speak to suicide, you can speak from a place of real authenticity because you've been there and you healed and are healing. So you know that's saving. You can't quantify that. You know, how do you put it? That's worth $10,000. I mean, it's just like I need $10,000 for that lecture. How does that? It's worth more than that. It's worth. It's. You know, how do you price a training? How do you price a yoga class? We try.
I was gonna say there's different types of marketing and pricing, but it all depends on where you are, what do you want for the people.
And my point is that this is so valuable. How do you price love? That tree costs $10. It's like, do you know what I mean? So it's almost like this. With the yoga industry, we're doing the best that we can to industrialize something spiritual. So we need money to survive, absolutely. Like, so it's again just allowing it to. I'm just into this, like, just gonna, see how it all plays itself out. Sometimes as a yogi, you might not be able to pay your bills on time. People might get upset. As long as you're honest, like, well, that's just what happened. Instead of, like, okay, because that's just like missing a handstand. I missed it today. I missed the mark. But guilt and punishment and sin and all that stuff is an illusion. It's not true. And those are the things that we need to continue to correct rather than affirm in the yoga space. You are doing great. If you see someone trying to, do something that might hurt themselves, you invite them to back off a little bit. Because sometimes we don't even know that we're hurting ourselves.
Yeah.
We think that we're trying to evolve. We think we're trying to get better, but we're actually hurting. So it's fine-tuning. It's a real tuning now to let go of a lot of the thinking of the world and to retrain yourself to align to the vertical and what's real and true about you. So when people ask you about yoga, it's like, it's yoga. When I breathe, I'm more clear. All right. So there's 10, and I'd like to can I step into faithfulness for a minute? Because we had 9 days, so I have one day I've got to do 2. So we're kind of in it. Let's go for it. Okay. Number 9 is faithfulness. The order in which they go is trust, honesty, tolerance, gentleness, joy, defenselessness, patience. Defenselessness, generosity, patience. I skipped. So number 7 is generosity. Number 8 is patience. And number 9 is faithfulness. The extent of the teacher of God's faithfulness is the measure of his advancement in the curriculum. I want to talk about that word curriculum. The curriculum in A Course in Miracles, it says that the curriculum is for everyone is going to go through this curriculum, whether it's this book or another one, this curriculum of shifting from fear to love, essentially. You can't choose the curriculum, you can only choose the time in which you go through the curriculum.
The curriculum is like your path?
It's the material. It's the study, if you will, of self. Okay. You don't get to choose that. You don't get to define what that is. You can't say, well, no, it's about moving from love to fear. It is about enlightenment. It's about realizing that nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists, and there is where your peace is. Herein lies the peace of God. That's really the crux of A Course in Miracles. So, and it's not necessarily this book. This is not the only book that teaches that. There are, Bhagavad Gita teaches that, the Vedas teach that, sutras teach that, Way of Mastery, the Bible, the Quran. At the essence of those, there's this conversation of love your brother as yourself, turn the other cheek. What about that one? Choose another perception. Turn your head from that, look elsewhere. And Jesus is one of the teachers, not the only teacher. Okay? So I just wanted to say that about this curriculum. That you don't get to choose the curriculum, but you can choose when you go through it. And that's what we see in the world. Some people are willing to go deep into the practice of self-actualization, and not only intellectualizing it, because a lot of people can spout out a lot of information, but living it. It's not about being perfect, but it is about giving it 100%. Does he still select some aspects of his life to bring to his learning while keeping others apart? If so, his advancement is limited and his trust not yet firmly established. Faithfulness is the teacher of God's trust in the Word of God, which is only, the Word of God is literally the thoughts of God, which is just love. Alignment. That love to set all things right. Not some, but all. So let's break that down for a second. Some of us are like, absolutely, I'm all about all of this stuff, Marie. But, let's just use money because that was with us today. But we need to make money. So where does money come from? What?
People were saying it comes from the trees because dollars are made out of
paper.
Cotton.
Okay.
So it comes from the earth.
Okay. So it comes from God. So money can be explained as energy. Because in essence, it's just energy. So are we willing to trust and have faith that money will come? Larry would say, do what you love and the money will come. A lot of us are like, well, I can't do what I love because I need money. I love what you're up to, but this. And that's what this is speaking to. And this is a practice. Faithfulness is a big one. Generally, his faithfulness begins by resting on just some problems. Okay, I will take my marriage to this stuff. But my kids, they need discipline. Like that. Some, but not all. Some, but not. I'll take some of my problems to love. And initially, I will say this, that it starts there. Like, let's just try a few things. Okay, well, I'll try this thing out, this XYZ business. I'll try this out next time with my mother. But my sister? No way. That lady's a psycho. She doesn't deserve my forgiveness because she's crazy. And she doesn't forgive me. This is not, this curriculum is like, it's not about what she does, it's about what you do. Remember, Center of Excellence, first it's awareness of you. It's turning the mirror, it's like a magnifying glass, like on yourself. We're so busy psychoanalyzing everybody else. What they should do, how they should do it better. Judging others. Generally, his faithfulness begins by resting on just some problems, remaining carefully limited for a time. To give up all problems to one answer is to reverse the thinking of the world entirely, and that alone is faithfulness. Nothing but that really deserves the name. Yet, each degree, however small, is worth achieving. Readiness, as the text notes, is not mastery. So even the littlest bit is great. Let's focus on what you can give up to love. Like, every problem you have, how can I be loving? And you do the best you can. Some of them, maybe you take some off, but every little bit. Readiness is amazing, but it's not mastery. We're in the process of mastery. We are all becoming masters. But most of us, right in the beginning, we just need to be ready. Be ready for the opportunities. Be ready. Okay, I'm ready. Like Larry. On the way to that class, remember the Day of the Dead class? Oh no, it was the class when I shared about my situation. And I was like, really like, oof, I was a little nervous. And I heard Larry go, "You ready?" And then I walked in and Carla goes, "You ready?" And then I started and I was shaking a little bit and I was like, okay, I'm ready. Right? I'm ready. I'll be ready right now. That's all we can really do, is be ready now. True faithfulness, however, does not deviate. Being consistent, it's wholly honest. Being unswerving, it's full of trust. Being based on fearlessness, it's gentle. Being certain, it is joyous. And being confident, it is tolerant. Faithfulness then combines in itself the other attributes of God's teachers. It implies acceptance of the Word of God, love, and God's definition of His Son. So God believes you're love. We don't. That's what makes us suffer, is we believe we're not. We're trying to replace our definition of ourselves. It's so silly when you look at it like from that perspective, isn't it? We're trying to define ourselves instead of accept who we are. Accept that definition of who we are. Because we think we made ourselves. I made this body, isn't it great? I made my babies. I didn't make do you really think, once you have a baby, you know you did not make that. You had sex. And that happened. That's what happened. That's what you did. And you just waited it out. And you just watched your body just like push a baby out. So you didn't, you know what I mean? Okay. Nature, you can use nature. If you don't like God, just use nature. If you don't like God. It implies acceptance of the Word of God and His definition of His Son. It is to them that faithfulness in the true sense is always directed. Toward them it looks, seeking until it finds. Defenselessness attends to it naturally, enjoys its condition. Having found it rests in quiet certainty on that alone to which all faithfulness is due. Hey, you have Faith. I almost named Ruby Faith. She would have made a great Faith too, but she's more Ruby. So to be faithful, not to be devoted to one God who's better than you, and you are not good enough, and God is better, and you suffer, so God likes you. It sounds funny, but isn't that the way we do it? We do religion this way, and millions of people have agreed to this insanity. It's like the faithful. I have a coaching client, and she says to me, you know, she was raised to be a good Christian, so she really suffers because a lot of what she's guided to do, like, is not aligned to what her family, like, she was guided to have a divorce, to divorce her husband. And so her family's been really like, that's not, you're supposed to serve your husband. They gave her all the shenanigans, and then, you know, she was like, but we don't have a relationship, and you know, we don't even live in the same city, like, I'm getting this thing annulled, I really feel guided. You know, she was going that direction, and they were just giving her the hardest time. So she started A Course in Miracles. That was one of her assignments in our coaching relationship. And it's fabulous just within, you know, 2 months to see how much she's healed herself from the thinking that she was given, you know, around who she is, because she felt so bad about herself. I mean, she was just taking herself down, and she has all these other things that had happened when she was young, and it's such a privilege to see someone have a little faith. Have a little faith and rearrange your concept of your Creator. Rearrange that in your head so that it serves you. It makes more sense. Okay? Any comments or questions on faithfulness? To be full of faith, trusting that you can take every problem you have to the universe. It's intelligent. You see that? It's pretty intelligent. It's pretty deep too. Think about how deep that ocean is. It's pretty deep. Take your problems about anything. Sex, raising, you know, healthy, loving children. How do I do that? It just acknowledges that you don't know. And that's a good thing, because you don't. Because you don't. I mean, innately you know. That's where you co-create. When you have faith and you can tap into that. But it doesn't come from you. That innate knowing comes from who created you. Who made your body and your heart beat and your intestines work and your liver flush and your eyes blink, and that energy knows stuff. You could argue that that's the only energy that knows anything about, I mean, the one that made, like, Saturn.
I like to think that we're, like, literally living in a ball that's floating in the middle of the universe.
Yeah.
You know, like, how? I don't understand when people are like, I don't believe in that, I don't believe in that. The miracle of life, all the things that we're surrounded by.
Yeah. I said that to a student from Mexico City. She's texting me. We're having a great conversation on eternity. She said, but it implies you think I believe in God. I said, don't you? I mean, you don't have to, but, like, how do you define the ocean? Who created that?
We had an assignment on, like, researching different, I don't know, how the world was created and different theories. And there was one that said, like, a lot of scientists end up, like, believing in God more the more you research.
Yes.
Because, for example, there's, like, I don't know, 1 in a billion chances the Big Bang happened. But what made that chance happen? Like, what made that chance, like, there was the world, like, everything exploded, and how did it all come together? And for the Earth to be here, it has to be, like, a certain distance from the sun, the elements, like, how
Right.
did they all combine to make the first
Right.
cell? And all of that, like, it's science. You can prove
Yes.
how it's made.
Yes.
But the chances to make it is so, like, are so small that you need a little push.
Mm.
And
Beautiful.
like it all makes sense.
Right.
And there's science, like you're not just making things up, like man didn't just appear on the earth. That's
Right.
weird.
Yeah, God is not some guy standing up there with a, you know, a beard and a
Yeah.
thunderbolt. That bad, wrong decision, you suffer. Dude, that is absolute insanity. It really is. I'm tolerant. However, I do not like people in power positions to tell human beings they're not good enough. I have very little tolerance for that, and I'm on a mission in a way to correct that. At least within my side of the street, which is the yoga space. So you tell people how great they're doing, even when they fall. You're doing great. That was awesome. Get back up. Let's try again. See if you can focus on your way down. See if you can pull your navel in on the way down. See if you're giving them opportunities to build their own faith. Yeah, it's science, man. It's like, it's mathematical. The distance of the planets. I love this whole universe business, and I will direct you to. There's some really great information on Gaia.com. In the last training, I shared that with you. Gaia.com. Do you know it?
Yeah, I like it.
Well, it's a website, but it's like a channel on iTunes, and they have some really, really amazing conversations. I'll tell you one woman called Regina Meredith, who does this show called Open Minds, which is magnificent. And there's this other guy called George Norrie. There's like, just like so much stuff going on. And for me, it's been quite inspiring actually to know that human beings are very awakened. We are growing. We're putting our stuff out there. And again, the world you see is based on what you think. So if you want to watch all of the insanity of the world, then you can. But if you want to focus on all that's going right, you can do that too. And I think that that's important. It's not that you turn your face or don't like acknowledge that these things are happening, but you are a part of the correction by moving this energy forward. So yoga is a very powerful tool, and you really want to look at it from that space. Like, this is powerful stuff. This can change people's realities. Indeed it must. So, and it starts with you, because you can only give it if you received it. That's why I'm so on your asses about your egos and taking that thing down and throwing it away. And when it comes out and bears its ugly face, just go, oh, okay, you again. I know all about you. And you breathe a little bit more and you wait for him to go back to sleep. You kind of coax him back to sleep. Sing him a lullaby. It's like having a child at the wheel, if you will. So, that's what I have to say to you today.
Thank you.
I kind of went on for a while, but I kind of feel free that there's a little, we're kind of coming to the end. And at this point, you're a little bit more open, too. You've done a lot of double-dip chaturangas. And your bodies are feeling probably pretty strong. They're looking very strong. Faces look great. Really tired?
Really, really tired.
Chill out.
I'm excited. No?
Yeah.
Coming.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I'm super excited.
Yeah.
I can't wait to put all my tools into practice because it's going to happen the second I step foot.
The minute. The curveballs happen right away.
Mm-hmm.
You go, I just did not see that one coming. Well, how could you? Right?
I think they're making fish like
Mesquite, right?
Oh, nice.
It smells.
So I have a couple questions I would like to leave you with in
Yes.
terms of like your kind of your feedback for us. So if you can just take out, like, if you have a clean piece of paper, or just write the questions down and put it on a piece of paper. You don't have to sign it or anything. It can be anonymous. But here's some of the things I want to know. Carla might have some other questions for you that she wants to know about. We didn't do this before and print it officially and give it to you, but I was thinking last night, these are some of the things I'd like to know. Did you like the schedule here? Would you have liked to have started earlier? Did you like the time off? You know, just give us some indication of where you were in terms of the sequence of the day. That's one question I'd like you to answer. The second one would be, you know, any feedback you have around the meals. What, you know, to add to take away, if it was great, whatever. What you thought of the meals and the accommodations. You know, some of you shared with a lot of people. Was that okay for you? You know, would you have wanted more private? I don't know. Just let us know some things, some thoughts you have about accommodations. We found a house for February. We thought it was going to work great, but we went to see it on Sunday. And here's my question really, is that it's very primitive, and my gut is telling me not so much for these yoga trainings for this reason. Like, it's very basic. The food would be required to be vegetarian because it's more of like a healing ashrami type thing. It's certainly not luxurious even a little bit. It's very much like camping. There's no air conditioning. And I'm a little bit thinking that we need to let this place go. But if that sounds like you might be interested in something like that, like it would be 2 to a room or a private room, and it would be about $50 USD a day per person. So this was more about 80 for shared. So there's lots of places like this that we can still go for. But we found that, and the price point was just so, I mean, this is a very big production. I mean, expense-wise, like it's a break-even thing for us, which is fine for this one. But eventually it needs to profit something for everybody. So that's why we thought we might take the expenses down and see if we can't. My sense, though, that is part of what made this experience so amazing was this house. And I'm a little bit concerned about putting our students, while they're really working through a lot of their stuff, and then taking away some of the basic comfort of, you know, this is Mexico, people are cleaning your room every day, people are fixing your bed, people are cooking for you, you're not washing dishes. A lot of that would change. So just if you could write down yay or nay for that. My guess is nay, but if you want to convince me that that would be okay, I would be open to that. And also the community experience, how that worked for you, because if we did that space for a future training, my family and Carla's family would live off-site because there wouldn't be enough space for us there. It's like dirt. It's back to basics. It's nature. It's a concrete floor for the yoga space, but it's quite beautiful. The sea is like a 5-minute walk, and there's no pool, but we could rent the pool if we wanted. It's mostly used for plant ayahuasca and things like that, which could be kind of cool too. Like we could, I don't know if we want to add that to these trainings quite yet. I'm a little bit.
About the rooms, is camping or?
They're rooms. They're rooms. They each have their own bathroom, which is a good thing. But they're cleaned once a week. If we wanted to have them cleaned every day, we would just have to pay more. So it's all possible. It was just such a stark contrast to this. And they can do some fish, but no chicken or anything like that. And eggs they can do. If that would be attractive for you for 10 days, you know. If you want to look it up online, it's called, what's miracles in Spanish?
Milagros.
Yeah, which kind of attracted me to it. Say it again?
Los milagros.
Milagros.
How do you spell it?
LOS
Yep.
space
Oh,
Did you
same
say
thing
it
as
G?
miracles.
There's a G there.
It's on Airbnb. The woman who runs it's beautiful. She's very interesting. She's like,
My cousin stays at one that's called Casa Inspiración. Inspiration. She says it's beautiful.
If you can find us the link, because we really do want to manifest
Like
something in February. Yeah.
And there was the one that Miriam had.
Yeah. Would you collect those addresses for me and Carla?
Yeah.
The links or something?
Yeah,
Ask Miriam and the other one. So that's what I wanted to know. Like how for me to live with you guys, I need this. I couldn't live there with you guys and lead a training and all of that. That just wouldn't work for me and my family. So we would live off site, but you can get to the beach. The other benefit of that place too is that you can walk to like the little town. It's in La Punta. I don't know if you know Puerto Escondido very well, but there's like little shops and it's like really in the surfer area. Everybody's walking around half naked. It's very, there's little restaurants but it's gringy. It's not like luxurious,
Are there any like hotels nearby for people who want to come to the retreat but maybe want to stay someplace a little bit nicer?
I think so. Yeah.
I think for me, like the whole air conditioning thing, like it was really, really nice to have that to like
I know.
when it got super, super hot and you were just like, ooh.
The other thing about that place is that it's much more shaded than this is too. So
Okay.
I don't
The
know
temperature might be different.
if it would be quite as intense in terms of the heat, but and the chef apparently is quite good from Mexico City, but it is all vegetarian, and she said they make it very tasty and most of the people really love it, and they can do fish. You can always go out to dinner if you didn't want to have the dinner and you wanted a steak or whatever. The other thing I wanted to know was about the content of this training. If you thought if you liked the yoga off the mat, on the mat, if that worked for you. And then also what you would improve for next time. Maybe you could just ask those girls to give you the questions, because it's kind of like an anonymous feedback form, if you wouldn't mind. And Carla might add some questions to that. But just before tomorrow, before you leave, you can give us, and you don't have to put your name on it, and just give it to us, and I don't really know your handwriting, so it should be fine. I know yours a little bit, because I saw it.
You can know my name. I'll even put my name on.
Oh, okay, if you want. But it doesn't need to be like if you really wanted to be fully self-expressed and had some concern about offending us, we will do our best not to be offended and to really learn about these intensive experiences and how we can continue to improve them. Maybe even if you have any feedback on the materials, because we're redesigning them for next year. It's part of the work we're doing over the Christmas holidays. I think that's all I have for right now. If I have more questions, I'll ask you. Okay?
Yeah.
And any other feedback you have, let's just say that. Like,
How many of these have you done? 200s and 300s?
me personally? With Larry, at least 50.
Larry, that many. Wow, he's done that many.
He did over 150.
How many years?
He started in 95 and passed in 2011. In San Francisco, we were the third yoga studio in San Francisco. Now there's over 150 in the Bay. We were number 3. There was a Bikram, there was Iyengar, and there was It's Yoga. So we are the oldest Ashtanga school in the West, is It's Yoga. And we were the first to offer certifications in the Bay Area. And now there's, hundreds of certifications in the Bay Area. But at It's Yoga San Francisco, we held 7 200-hour trainings a year. 7 200-hour It's Yoga trainings.
Before the 200-hour was actually, no, the 200-hour started back in the 80s.
In the 80s, yeah.
When the International got together and said, okay, we need a standard of history, standard of this, standard of that.
So the first It's Yoga training was around 1995, when Larry came back from the Grateful Dead thing, and the Grateful Dead thing Jerry passed and that thing was over. Then he started leading trainings in San Francisco, and from, I would say, gosh, when I came to teacher training in 2004, my group had about 15, and we did about 15 to 20 people. Some trainings had 30, Summer trainings were really big in the summers, but people were coming from all over the world because we had one of the first websites too that was like doing 200-hour intensive trainings. So people could come for a month. People came from all over the world. One training we had 20 Japanese people come. We had translators. I mean, it was a whole production. And then we started doing rocket trainings like around 2004, 2005, 50-hour, 5-day add-ons to the 200. And yeah, so like every 200 had a 5-day extension if people wanted, if you were coming from Europe and you could figure out, because most Europeans have at least 4 to 6 weeks off a year. So then they would come and do the rocket too. Then when Larry passed, we really wanted to make a concerted effort to preserve his legacy and the rocket, if you will, because so many people had been trained over the years and had changed the sequences, added things to the sequences, added deep adjustments, added weird transitions that were too extreme. And so it really, the other piece to that was that people wanted the rocket and didn't want the Ashtanga. And so we really wanted to find this 301 course that you guys are in is like our bridge, where a lot of it is a 200-hour curriculum and the rocket one.
That's why you call it 3? Like, I never say why you
It's a 300-hour training. So you guys have completed the first 100-hour module of, because you have 200 hours minimum in another system.
Have 200 hours. Oh, so you offer the 200 and then you throw in the extra 100 to give them the 3.
Right. So these guys just did the 200. That means they can go to the 302 because they already have all the foundational stuff that you got in a 10-day module. Because we assume, if you will, that you had.
You never asked me.
I know, I should have. But I trusted because you told me that you had had all this training, and I didn't check. I didn't check if it was Yoga Alliance, but for me that's doesn't matter, because even if it was Yoga Alliance, anyway, that's another conversation. So we have a 200-hour program, we have a 300, and then we have the 500. And the 300 and the 500 came to be after Larry passed. So this is all It's Yoga International that we started when he left in 2011. So for me, the 301 and the 302 are still very new programs. You know, so I know the curriculum of the 200-hour and the rocket trainings quite well, that 50-hour. But what we found was that when people we started to allow people to come do the 50 hours without the 200, and that's when we found we couldn't do that anymore. Because they didn't know our drishti, they didn't know our bandhas, they didn't know our philosophy, they didn't know primary series. Some of them didn't know who Patabi was. But they saw the dynamic rocket from some of the people that Larry had trained and allowed, like a lot of the people that Larry trained are teaching 3-day, 5-day intensive and certifying people, even though rocket is trademarked. And it's the intellectual property of It's Yoga International. We still have people within, well, they're not inside our community anymore, we're all brothers and sisters, but they're not operating within our guidelines and how we really are committed to sharing the legacy of Larry. And
I agree. I was at a training 2 years ago, and most of the girls there were 19, 28, but they were not ready. They were allowed to attend even with 3 months of yoga training, and really, India training, it was way too intense for their. It was just too intense, and the place I went to had to have at least over a year plus a written note saying that you are 2-year minimum yoga, or a note saying that yes, from a teacher saying yes, this girl has a year, or this person, man, has a year, but yet they are able, because it can be emotionally a month living and learning. They told somebody,
Yeah.
You really can.
well, we don't really, for us, the training,
You, it's dirt, like, I don't
we don't even count your yoga before this. We don't even count it.
I got that too.
Towards, I mean, because it's great, and you so learned, especially in the green yoga trainings. I mean, those cats are not messing around. Damien and Carla are for real, and they put it out there, and it's like, this is how we do it, and there's a lot of great information. So I know you know a lot if you come from another training, but I do know that what we have here is a little bit different, and it's in terms of its yoga international and growing our community, it requires coming now. So we invited some of our past trainers that were certified by Larry or whatever, which really didn't happen because none of us really took the Rocket training wasn't a certification either. It was like, it wasn't in the Yoga Alliance thing. It wasn't a thing. It was just like, you came, you sat in a circle. Okay, so you came and sat in the circle and you learned the routines and you taught them. But to turn around and certify others requires a little bit more, I think, community around, okay, this is what we want and this is what's important. And for me, the most important thing for me has always been energy. And what you receive on the mat. So I'm so interested to hear how your practice is going, what transformation has happened for you, how you're showing up off your mat, because I know if that's aligned, you'll teach great classes. Now for someone like Carla, her stuff is, yes, that's important, Marie, but they need to know all this stuff too. And I'm like, great, so you teach them all that stuff.
I definitely got that.
Which is awesome. And it's such a great fill-in for us. Especially now because when Larry first left, so much of what I was doing was both, because Katie was his partner in the trainings. Then when she went and had her kids, I was his partner in the trainings. So he did all the stuff that I'm doing in his way, and I did all of the, like, this is where you put your foot, and this is what you do with adjustments, and I did that for a long time. And then when he left, I tried to do both, which worked for a certain amount of time, but now not anymore, because now I have a family and I've evolved too, and I think that it's better to have, like, at the It's Yoga trainings in San Francisco, I'm sorry if this is too much information, but just so you have some context, we had like a whole team. So like Larry did the Larry show, that's what we called it. Katie did the technique and alignment, Yariv did the adjustments and the anatomy, and Dr. Greg did the spinal stuff, and Deanna did the Ayurveda, and so we had a lot, and then what's his name did the flight school and the handstand workshops, and you know, I just sat in all of it for all those times, so I got really lucky.
Most places kind of break it all down to each his own.
Yeah.
Keeps it fresh, lots of different teachers.
Yeah.
Lots of different hands to make easy work.
Yeah. But when he left, it took a while, I mean, for me to really trust others again, because it was just going so crazy, and I really wanted to like stay in the center with it, because it was a lot of it for me is like, how do I feel in your presence? If I feel like I can be myself in your presence, then I know that this might work. But if I feel like there's judgment and there's like that, I can't work with that person anymore. And that took a long time to learn, because I was always trying to like, well, you know, and so then I made it a requirement for our trainers to have coaching. So our high-level trainers that are leading teacher trainings are in a coaching relationship with a Center of Excellence coach. And that's required. And that's required because what I found is when it's not happening, it's just the ego just takes over. And you've got to have, and it's only every 2 weeks you have someone on the phone where you're fully self-expressed saying, giving you a perception shift around, like I've had so many things in my life, and I was still leading trainings, but I've had a coach for 15 years, every 2 weeks, and she just passed away this summer.
That's the Center of Excellence.
Yeah. And for me and Larry introduced me to that, so for me I know that that's aligned to his mission, and knowing that for us to really make that level of shift in terms of the collective and ensuring that our trainers are excellent, it requires that. It required it for me. And I had a master. I practiced with him every day for 7 years. So I couldn't just graduate from that and be like, oh, I'm good, I got it. I knew, because life kept going on, that I needed continuing education. So for us, Center of Excellence is like the continuing education program. You come for the 300, you get the tools, you taste the philosophy, you see where we're going with this. But we're working now with, you know, a handful of the 25 tools that we work with. So once you get to 500 hour, we bring in a few more, and then the coaching piece is added to that. And we've thought about doing the coaching piece like as yoga off the mat retreats, where, you know, our trainers can come, because when we're all together, it's really quite beautiful, isn't it? And the high level trainers, like the 500 hours, when those guys come in, you know, the studio owners and that are like 100%. It's one thing if you hear it from me, but if you're sitting across from Sala or Michelle or Richie, you know, it's like, wow, these guys all speak the same language. That's amazing, you know, and just got the chills. That was really important to me because so many of those old guys were not talking like this. They were telling you you weren't doing good enough in the circle. They were adjusting you too deep. It was about them and not about you. And that was not Larry's thing. Even though it was the Larry show, it was not about mirror, mirror on the wall, look at how awesome I am. It was look at how awesome you are. Larry was magnificent at making you feel like you were the most perfect person in the world, even if you fell and were totally insane. I used to have acne all over my face, and he still loved me. I was getting fried from the inside. I mean, my ego got totally annihilated. And it doesn't mean it went away, sadly. It just meant it was like a polishing act. You know what I mean? It's like that. So I think yoga is a very intimate, sacred practice, and I got really lucky to have Larry on the mat and Dorothy off the mat. So IYI is very much that that thing together.
Continue with how many workshops a year? 2?
No, this year we did, I mean, at least 3 to 5 trainings a year. Full time. I mean, I've only been doing this full time since I was 24, so I don't really know. Like, I never had another anything other than my family, of course, and my life, but it's been full time yoga.
So what's going on next month?
So next month I'm off. I'm redoing the materials. I'm off for December and part of January, and then February we're back in training. And then we go back to Mexico City for a sequence of trainings from probably, I mean, we're still working the details, March through July. And then August I'm off for a few months, and then back in Mexico City. Back here in November next year. So full time. Full time. And come and assist the trainings. So that's another thing that we're working out with Green Yoga, and hopefully going to have an It's Yoga in Mexico City too, and a stake here. We were deciding 3 places, Toledo, Tenerife, or Mexico, where we were going to land our ship for 3 years, and it's seeming like Mexico is going to be the one.
Canaries is kind of hard to get.
Canaries is a little hard to get to, and it's amazing. I think after our 3-year stint here, we'll go there. I really do, because I love a couple of the schools there, and I love the European thing for my children because they're also Euros. And the language piece, the German, and the interaction. Danny speaks 7 languages because he grew up in the Canaries. And his mother is there and his family, and so we really feel though we need some time away from both the families to continue to nurture this family and the Russell unit and things like that. But this is full time, and our trainers are full time. Our trainers are full time. The studio, the thing is most of our presence is in Europe, because a lot of the North Americans, they just didn't want to go here, as you can imagine, because our culture is different. You know, our culture is very different. It's all capitalist. It's all, you know, you got to get ahead, you got to compete, you got to be better, you got to know. And so a lot of the American older, like the San Francisco Rocket guys, like all those guys, just, it was like one by one, they all just fell away. They just fell away. And the good news is that I was attaching to them. Dorothy kept saying new ones will come, and they have. So I'm grateful you're here. I am. I'm grateful that I have, it's such a privilege to be a part of your practice, and I'm wanting this to really continue. So that's what I'm working towards. My visioning is around 1 million yoga teachers. That's what Larry used to say. It's going to take 1 million yoga teachers to save the world, and I want to be a part of their training. That's what Larry said. So for me, I am just facilitating my interpretation of what he shared with me, and also how everyone sings a song of yoga, how it comes out to you. But it's the same, it's singing, it's yoga, and that's been so essential. So many of those old rocket heads just wanted the rocket and they didn't want It's Yoga. But It's Yoga and the rocket are married. They're in a sacred relationship, and you can't take the philosophy out of the rocket. Otherwise it just becomes a circus act. And that's what it has become in many circles. And, you know, I can only keep my side of the street clean. think that's why I'm so passionate about the off the mat piece, and I know it's challenging to sit in a circle. I know it is, because I sat in a lot of circles, and I would be like, Larry, you should. I would, oh my God, I can't believe he's talking like that. Oh my God, I already heard this. It's like, but I continued to sit, and I love to be in the circle with him, and that's why I still come to the circle, because I know he's with me. So it's the best part.
I love it.
And Larry was awesome. And he really deserves a great send-off, because he really walked the walk before a lot of people were even willing to. He changed the system. He was the first one that said, no, and he didn't call it power yoga, and he didn't call it his Schultz yoga, Baptiste yoga, Iyengar yoga. I mean, he said, never put your name in front of yoga. He always said that, never put your name, this is not Turi's yoga. This is yoga with Turi, you know. Because that was just like way over the top. So I think in so many ways he was talking this stuff before a lot of people were willing to go there. And why it makes it easy for me, even though I'm only 38, and I have a lot of life experience to go here, because I saw him do it so much, and I practiced so much. Right? So I'm with you guys. We're all in this together. Wait till you meet the Rocket heads for the 5. Hopefully we'll get a couple euros. A couple of them are coming, but they're all like, well, I thought you were coming to Tenerife. I'm like, you'll figure it out, guys. You'll figure it out. It's a beautiful community. And we really, we weeded. We weeded. If you couldn't hang in the circle, you couldn't hang. You couldn't sit there, and that's why I'm acknowledging you so much, because you sat there even when it was uncomfortable, and your ego was like, no, I'm dying. I'm melting. I know that. I know that big time. It's a polishing act, this yoga. Namaste. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I love you guys so much. Okay. Oh, you're done. She's like, I got that.
She's good, lovely, good.